Hey y'all, it's Halloween, bitches! Happy Halloween, everybody. Shout out to my boy Clark. And Matt Shears have birthdays today. So happy birthday to the Matt Shears and my buddy Clark, who's turned 8 today. So he's not like, it's one of my kids' friends. But anyway, yeah, it's Halloween. Didn't run over any kids, didn't kill any kids out there. I'm probably going to break my Sober October a couple hours early. I think it might be time. I'm not going to feel guilty about, just
it's a holiday.
Going ahead and running the clock up just a little bit for that. I believe it's episode 34. I forgot to check, but I'm pretty confident on the 34 thing. It is the 31st of October, 2020. We got a couple days till Election Day. And then Ron McPherson on Monday, and he's not the fucking comptroller. Don't start that shit right off the bat. We'll get to that later. But that's all I got. I hope you guys are having a good, safe holiday, and we'll, if you haven't voted already, it's Tuesday, the 3rd of November. It's coming real fast. It's crazy how that works. So, we're going to start the show. Look at that. I timed it out right for once.
Party
Didn't have to
fix.
fade it out and do nothing.
Yeah, I always wonder why they had 4 or 5 days in between. Like, why is there a certain
Why they
reason
kill
the break between the early voting and the actual voting day?
I mean, I guess I would assume part of it is to get a lot of the staff they probably have out in early voting locations. They got to send out around to all the actual polling locations to set up and have all the equipment in place, and they probably have a couple training days for the extra volunteers that come out for actual voting day and shit like that.
That was one thing I did hear.
Which is bullshit. They're not volunteers. They get fucking paid like real money. I think it's like $300 for a 12-hour day.
Really?
It's something significant. Like
I'm sure there's probably paid staff, and I think there are actual volunteers.
the poll watchers are not. But like if you're anywhere in the process, anybody that's doing any of the paperwork, sitting at the table checking to make sure you're like registered to the right location, the people that have the big books.
What about just the greeter guy?
I don't know about those, but I know that the people that are checking the books, that are signing you in and all that kind of stuff, the people that are actually watching and like assigning you like which booth, which now it's not a booth anymore. You have your new Scantron.
I'll say no one directed me. I just kind of saw like an open little desk partition mabobber.
Right. It's like, yeah, sit over there. And it's like, okay. And then, but so I don't know. Like I want to say back in August at Rocky Hill here at my location, there was probably 6, 7, 8, maybe 10 people that were there. And I'll go out on a limb and say at least 8 or 9 of them were paid there. Because there were a handful of other people that were kind of floating around, but I don't know what they were doing exactly. I don't know what a poll watcher is, because they've been talking about volunteers and shit to come out. Like the parties have both been asking for volunteers. I want to actually, okay, go ahead.
I would assume poll watcher would be someone that's just really just observe and make sure like nobody's looking to do anything suspicious. Trying to look over somebody's shoulder and figure out who they voted for, or try to whisper in somebody's ear or whatever. Somebody's trying to influence voting. So
this one, I didn't post it. I'll post it, or I may even take a picture of it and make it our episode art for this one. I got I've been telling you guys how many millions of flyers I've gotten for the Eddie Manis campaign. Virginia Couch campaign. Oh, excuse me. Rowdy wants to say hello to everybody. Anyway.
Tennesseans for Truth and Politics.
Right, which I haven't looked up exactly what that pack is and what their history is, but they essentially what it is it's a picture of a bunch of red elephants and this one blue donkey with a bad elephant mask on. And it says Eddie Manis is a Democrat masquerading as a Republican. And so the only way this makes sense to me is literally this is a pro-couch pack that is trying to discourage capital R Republicans from voting for Eddie Manis by calling him a Democrat, because they're not trying to encourage people to vote for Couch instead of Eddie. They want you to just not vote for Eddie and either vote for somebody else on that ticket, which would be Virginia, or not vote in that one item overall. It's a very weird strategy on that one. So it's like I was talking to Joey, Eddie Manis' campaign kid, about it, and we were going back and forth. I was like, so let me see if I get this right. I probably look it up because it's just a big convoluted text, but it's like, so, hey, if you're a Republican, don't vote for the Republican that's really a Democrat disguising himself as a Republican. But by not voting for the Democrat that looks like her, or the Republican that looks like a Democrat, or whatever it is, you're actually helping the true Democrat on the ticket. But forget about that part. Just don't vote for the fake Republican because whatever. And then, I mean, again, the point of it is to try to encourage people to me, the point of it is to encourage people not to vote in that portion of their ballot overall because they don't want to accidentally vote for a Democrat. I hate Democrats so much. I'm not even going to vote for one that's not really a Democrat. He says he's a Republican, but he's actually a Democrat because this one flyer said so. It's like it's a really weird strategy the way they put that flyer together to me.
Like trying to turn away any Republican against it.
Right, but again, I don't think that's not trying to encourage you to vote for the other. It's to me, it's just trying to encourage you to not vote. Right. Which I didn't even think about this till right now. Which is one of the standard arguments right now that you hear a lot is it's that the Democrats are the ones that want to encourage everybody to vote, and it's the Republicans that are okay with people getting excluded. But this is, to me, this pack is a Democratic pack that is trying to discourage voting. I don't know, just an interesting little tidbit.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see
what the pack
said. It was like a treasurer of that, little pack or whatever.
So, all right, I'll see if I can find it. I don't know how this works as far as Tennessee for Truth in Politics out of Nashville. Let me see what the internet says. Come on, Google. I've been having internet issues today, so we'll see how this goes.
I was looking at something earlier, and my phone was glitching out. Saw a guy in the middle of the road on the way here. Not too far off the interstate. He's kind of like flailing his arms. I don't know if he was yelling at somebody else or yelling at traffic. I'm like, he's like, I can go get hit. Tried to like flash a couple cars like they were heading his way.
Oh, Tennesseans. That might be why.
There was a woman that got hit by cars on the interstate about a week ago. It said multiple cars, and like nobody stopped apparently. Like more than one car hit her.
That's fucked up.
Yeah, and nobody stopped. I was like, yeah, that's horrible.
I don't see.
Yeah, where I went to go vote, I mean, when I first like walked in the building, there was a guy just like sitting in their chair, just like directing people, like, hey, keep following. They had little yellow tape arrows kind of going down the hallway and all around or whatever, leading the way. I'm like, I hope that guy's not getting paid $300 to sit there and just keep following the line.
I mean, it might be a lucrative gig.
Stay 6 feet apart. Follow the arrows.
Yeah. And I don't know if it's different for federal and state or locals. Like, I don't know if the one back in August that was only primaries and locals, if that's the same pay rate or whatever. But I don't know. Apparently that's how Chris Davis, the election commissioner, came in here. That's apparently how he got in. Like, he just did it one day for shits and giggles. And then, ended up having a good time and enjoying it. And then did a couple more. And so he got to know some of the election commissioners that were running it at the time, and that's kind of how he got his job with the election commission. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, a couple people interacted were really nice. Like, thanks for coming out.
I mean, here for me, they're all like, I think the average age was 84. Back in August, the people working.
Yeah, it's generally older people. I want to say my grandparents, were poll workers for years or something.
Right.
Volunteered.
So I don't know. What do you want to do? We got. I mean, you already voted, so you obviously know who I should vote for. Because, as discussed in prior episodes, I have no idea what I'm doing on the Bradshaw Haggerty, Elaine Davis Hoya's race. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know anything about either. I mean, I got a little bit of literature on Hoya's. But other than that, I've got no, like, especially the Bradshaw. I mean, I got a little bit of stuff from Bradshaw because I think Matt, happy birthday, Dick, put me on their mailing list or put me on one of their lists or whatever. And that's how I've started getting text from the Bradshaw campaign.
Yeah.
And so here's here's my problem on that one, I guess, from what I've gotten through their campaign and texting. We made fun of it for being like, I'd ask a question and they'd answer it really sideways and then put a link to the site or whatever. But like some of the base things, and I mean, I was being honest when I was texting with him. It's like, well, what's her deal? And it's like, well, she has the 3 E's, which is economy, environment, and ethics, or something like that. And that was my question that I asked was, my concern is that the government's getting too big, and Well, Bradshaw is running on the 3 E's. I was like, well, are any or all of those 3 E's going to grow the size of government? And then it went on to something about the $15 minimum wage. And it's like, well, to me, the 3 E's are going to grow government by the way they're built. The $15 minimum wage is going to grow government. And so some of my core issues, I know I'm not on board with Bradshaw on, but I have no idea where Haggerty sits on anything either. Like I've been having too much fun, but also been way too focused on the local, especially on this this Virginia Couch Manus race that I can't look away from. I get so much shit from it, that I haven't had a lot of time. And, I got to have Massey in this week. And so I'm still trying to formulate where I sit on that one. And you got to vote on that one, which is still weird because literally everybody on the show voted that district. We are all District 6, even though we are all over Knox County. Yeah. Which, me and you make sense. Obviously, AC makes sense because he lives 15 feet from me. But where Max lives on the far, like we're west-southwest. I'm southwest Knox County, and AC is northeast Knox County. He's about as far away in county as you could get from me. And somehow that district kind of hooks around because one of the other districts comes out of Anderson County and has like a wedge that goes into Knox County, hits a little bit of downtown.
That's weird.
Yeah, it's funky. But so I don't know. That's where I don't know. Like I don't know what I want to do. I don't know where I sit on the Haggerty. If you don't have to say, it's America. You don't have to tell people who you voted for. But I'd be curious to know if you want to go down your ballot with us.
I voted Bradshaw. I just was against Haggerty, just with the whole backing of Trump and all the fucking commercials. I was tired of that shit.
Right. So the endorsed by Trump was enough to say no. Yeah. Which I don't wholly disagree with that. I think it's. I mean, I've from the get go, I was like, I don't
even think he got Trump. I think it was just old Junior that like ran the ads. I'm like, oh, you can't even get Trump.
Well, Haggerty was like wasn't he like a ambassador to somewhere at some point? I don't know. We've got the internets right here.
I thought he was some kind of businessman as well, but
is it Mr. William Haggerty, right?
I wish the other Senate seat was up for grabs.
Which one?
Oh, Blackburn.
Oh yeah, I could see. I could go with less Marsha Blackburn in my life. I agree with that. All right, Mr. Haggerty. Here we go. I don't want to see your video. Tennessee roots, Tennessee values, Tennessee proud. You know what? I'm pretty sure this is public domain. We'll see if we get sued over it. Fuck it. Let's watch a video.
I'm a fourth-generation Tennessean. I was raised in
I don't know if we can do this.
We had a small farm there. We didn't have a lot.
I don't know.
Might as well stop it now then.
Well, I want to know, and I don't want people to listen to silence.
Strong, conservative Tennessee values. They taught us to love Christ.
Yeah, I don't fucking care anymore. All right, that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Meet Bill. Born in Gallatin, Bill learned the value of hard work from his father, a veteran and a road builder, and his mother, a teacher. As a boy, he raised pigs, cattle, baled hay, and shoveled asphalt. Ooh-wee.
That's Tennessee.
We need you. Give us money. I ain't giving you money. Issues. Bill supported President Trump's historic 2016 campaign. As a trusted ally for president, he will stand up to radical liberals in Washington who seek to derail our America First agenda. All right, so number one on his issues is stand with Trump. Okay. Stop illegal immigration, build the wall, confirm constitutionalist judges. I wonder if that changed. I wonder if it was always constitutionalist or if it was conservative and they changed it to constitutionalist because that's kind of the new word.
It does sound a lot more.
I mean, there's that's an interesting...
Like, oh, you're conservative? Like, I don't know. Like,
I'm a constitutionalist.
Oh, yeah, you're a constitutionalist. Like, I like the Constitution. Yeah, that's a good thing.
Right.
Oh, you mean a judge that believes in the Constitution? That's good.
Confirming constitutional judges standing with law enforcement officers stopping the coronavirus. All right, let's see what he says on that one. The Trump administration is doing a great job preparing for the worst to make sure the worst does not happen. Bill has worked with President Trump to push back against China as an ambassador to Japan. There we go. See? In the Senate, Bill will work to keep Americans safe, and that includes the threat of outbreaks like the coronavirus. For more information on preventative steps, click here. All right, let's see what the Bill Haggerty campaign links us to in coronavirus prevention. Haggerty. I don't know. The Trump administration is doing a great. No, you're doing the same thing. And spread from wash your hands, avoid close contact, cover coughs and sneezes, avoid touching your eyes and mouth, clean and disinfect frequently touch objects. If you're at high risk, avoid non-essential travel. Stay at home. All right, so they're not there. He's an anti-masker.
Everything except for a mask.
What to do if you're sick? Stay at home. Here's some resources. All right.
Reputable resources.
I mean, it was like the Department of Health and shit like that.
Oh, okay.
Putting an end to human trafficking, stopping illegal immigration, supporting our military.
Like a link to Plandemic video.
That'd be funny. Supporting our military. Our most important national security asset isn't the technology nor infrastructure. It's the men and women of our armed forces. While we can never fully repay the debt of service, Bill knows we must do everything we can to serve those. Blah, blah, blah. He will protect Fort Campbell, Arnold Air Force Base, and Milligan Naval Base. His father served. What are they in question?
I guess they're under attack.
I don't understand what he's protecting them from. Maybe I'm missing something. He will always fight to make sure our active duty servicemen and their families have the tools they need to complete their missions, and he will work to repair the broken VA system that too often fails our veterans. That doesn't say shit. So I guess to channel
vague generalizations
right,
sound good.
To channel my AC, this is just their rhetoric, their headlines, their soundbite versions of it. Doesn't say anything about actually.
Well, I mean, right there, you've probably read more than most people that truly went to that website read.
That's probably true.
And probably just like glanced over, saw some headlines, or like, okay, back to Facebook.
But I mean, again, it's like stopping illegal immigration, supporting our military. Growing Tennessee's economy. How is he going to do that from the federal business? It takes to blah, 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 blah. He owns a business.
I was thinking he was some kind of business owner.
We are well positioned to lead the country in economic growth, and Bill will make Tennessee's economy continue to thrive.
Tennessee's going to lead in economic growth?
He thinks so. President Trump's winning streak on taxes, promote free trade, remove barriers to trade, strengthen the regulatory. Okay. Bill's op-ed here, Bill's op-ed there. Blueprint to bring jobs back to the United States. Here we go. This one might actually say something. Oh. My fellow Tennesseans, this is a 15-point PowerPoint presentation.
We're going to put some more tariffs on China.
It's a good thing I didn't start drinking yet because I'd have a hard time doing all this reading if I'm going to be boozing it up.
Excuse me.
As our most recent U.S. ambassador to Japan, I don't know if this is what Bill Haggerty sounds like. It just this feels right to me.
I think you just heard him for a second there.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, we heard a guy that was impersonating.
Yeah. I've represented America's interests with our closest strategic ally in the Asia-Pacific region. From the vantage point, I've seen firsthand how dangerous China can be. The communist Chinese regime will compromise our security at every turn. Whether it's their militarization of the islands of the South China Sea, they'll use heavy subsidies to overwhelm and take over strategic industries, or outright theft of intellectual property. That's true. They do that. This regime has steadily advanced at the expense of the rest of the world. President Trump is committed to getting China to play by the rules and to implement better trade deals for American workers. As your next senator, I will continue to support the president in standing up to the Chinese regime and its threats. The coronavirus pandemic has highlighted significant vulnerability and underscored the need to bring our supply chain from China. Okay, I mean, how are you gonna? I
think that's a given, yeah. But yeah, how
are you gonna do it?
How do you?
As your senator, I will work alongside President Trump to checkmark make the corporate tax rate in the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act permanent and further lower the corporate tax rate to make us more cost competitive with other countries, including China. Continue to eliminate and remove outdated, costly, and often conflicting regulations. I'm down with that. Balance the number of corporate tax options to further incentive manufacturers to move their businesses back from China, including allowing immediate expensing of manufacturing equipment and related investments, providing a capital gains tax reduction that would release fresh capital, encourage investment in the United States, and bring back manufacturing jobs, and implementing payroll tax relief for a specified period of cut for companies that bring jobs back from China. Yeah, fuck that. That's bullshit. I don't like that last one. Increase job training and skills development as we continue to release. All right. I mean,
I don't know.
Okay. So on like those little 3 or 4 little things, he actually lists something to do is balance the number of corporate tax options to further incentivize manufacture. No, not that one. Continue to eliminate and remove outdated, costly, and conflicting regulations. Simplifying the regulation market could, I'm not even going to go full libertarian on it for now and say they need to get rid of all regulations, but at least having it a little bit more cohesive than it currently is not a bad thing. Trying to clean up some of the repetitiveness and some of the different agencies that step over each other to do shit. Depending on the industry you're in, I could see that as a pro. I mean, again, it's a little bit like soundbitey. It's not really clear. These are the ones we would cut or remove or put over here so that they're not overlapping over here. But
it appeals to a broad audience of people on that topic.
Right. And if I understand these other parts correctly, allowing immediate expensing of manufacturing equipment and related investments,
So I don't ask for a federal loan subsidy.
Do what?
So they can. Is that basically just asking for a federal?
No. What it says,
so they can buy the new equipment to start the factory.
No. If I understand that correctly, what that's saying is, so when you buy major equipment or major property or something like that as a company, you don't get to write it off immediately. Like if you buy 100, like I'm trying to think of something that makes sense. I don't know. Like if we had like a big pro studio, which just doesn't exist anymore because studio equipment and all the electronic stuff got cheaper, but if somehow we were back in the olden days where the studio was a $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 and you had certain things in there with like $5,000, $10,000 investments on a grander scale, when you're looking at like a huge manufacturing plant where you have millions of dollars in equipment to get started, you amortize that over time. So where, at the shop, if we buy a new printer because our printer breaks, it's only $120, $150. That's an immediate write-off on our taxes for the year and date we bought it. If you buy $1 million thing, because depending on how you finance the thing, you're not paying for it immediately, but you bought the thing. So like, again, like some sort of manufacturing facility, you have $1 million piece of equipment that stamps out whatever you're making. And you set up what you finance with the bank over 15 years or whatever to pay that $1 million off to finance the equipment. Traditionally, you kind of pay, you get to write off the equipment expense, the expense of buying the equipment over the same time period as the loan. It may not exactly line up, but there's deep down in the tax rules and stuff like that, they tell you how you're allowed to do certain things. But one of those is it's over time. So that $1 million investment you have to do over 10 years. So you're only getting to write off $100,000 a year for that $1 million piece of equipment.
Right.
Where if you get that write-off right off the bat, that cuts down your income tax for the first year, or your taxable income for the first year by a lot, or even to a negative number, which gives you more money to work with in those first couple of years of business. So that to me, because again, I don't know, you'd have to talk to an accountant on whether there's a real advantage to that over time, because you're going to have that $1 million piece of equipment paid off, and you're going to have that first year where it's a huge expense, and you can get it to go against your expenses that first year and pay very little income tax the first year in business because you got to write that thing off. But over time, your taxable margin is going to go up because you're not still paying parts of that thing off. So I don't know if it's an advantage for business. It makes sense to me where in certain situations you might want to use that. I mean, it's logical that, and it sounds to, I think it sounds reasonable, like a reasonable thing to do. I don't know if they're not doing that for some reason or the other. It sounds like it's not a thing. You're not allowed to do that right now.
Oh. I think we talked about it a couple weeks ago. I can't remember where it was. I saw it. Where I didn't realize that a lot of companies there's some kind of like built-in federal insurance that basically, if they close down, they can at least get back 60% of like money they invested.
Yeah, I don't remember what that was. I do remember talking about that, and there's different little.
And I'm sure there's like certain caveats to it. I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. It's like, in what other realms of general life do you get to take a risk like that and have a guaranteed to get 60% of your money back, even if everything goes belly up?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
I'm just like, I was like, you took the risk to start a business. That's the risk you take.
Right. And that's one of my arguments, and it's one of those things that I think.
I mean, homeowners can't do that. I mean, you can declare bankruptcy, but that fucks you even more. You're not getting money back on bankruptcy.
Right, but you don't have to pay the rest of it off.
Net zero again.
Right. But yeah, and I don't know. I mean, I'd be curious to see like what the conditions of
it got explained is, and they were trying to hire people, and they're trying to bring money to the community and blah blah blah. But when that happens, how much does that hurt the community? Just as much. That person just got a job, now he's got to look for another job.
Right, but again, it's you're trying to encourage the investor to take the risk, and different ways to do that. One of the ways logically to do that is reduce the amount that the risk is. If I put $1 million down, in worst case scenario, I get 750,000 back. If it completely fails, I'm more willing to take that risk if I'm just going to straight lose $1 million. You would hope that either way I'm going in there trying to succeed, and if I succeed, then the municipality doesn't have to pay that back. People are getting jobs, doing all this different stuff. All the other parts and pieces are rolling, and it's good for the local economy. The question the question in that incentive program would be, is it getting investors to take bad risk in the sense that they're trying to put a company or a business or a production facility in a place that doesn't have the things it needs, or it's just like it's not gonna work, it's never gonna work, and since they put the incentive in place, they took the risk because even if it worked a little bit, they might get away with it.
No, I mean that happens in the business world. And
I know, I'm agreeing that it happens.
You buy a factory because you own the competing factory just to let it do a poor job, and now your other main factory later has no competition anymore.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. It's I mean the incentive makes sense on like the kind of a way back view of it. Like I'd like to do a thing, whatever the thing is. I'd like to open a new business doing a thing. I'm not sure, about it, but if it works, it'd be good for the economy. The county or the city or whomever, has a piece of land or a location that I would like to put this, or even better yet, I'm going to do it either way. But there's a certain spot that the city really wants to get something put in because like over here where that fucking Howard Johnson sat empty for fuck ever and they finally tore it down. I know in that one there was a lot of different things going on where the county, the guy that owned the land, everybody was trying to figure out some way to get somebody to take the risk on putting something in there, which I'm going to bet that the sports bar that opened there is going to fail too. But it's a weird location. But
just about everything that's gone in like right along there has not done well.
Yeah, it's terrible. The only thing that's been there the whole time is the cops. So
that marine place I think has been there a while.
Yeah, on the other end, yeah, there's a couple in there, but I don't know. It is a weird spot, and they keep I mean, even if there's not a direct incentive for those people that put the stuff in there currently, they've done a ton of work on both Kingston Pike and the access roads and all that stuff to make it.
They've been working on that access road for 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, they put a roundabout in there. It's so stupid.
Yeah, they have that little roundabout thing.
Yeah, although I mean, I have to say roundabouts. If roundabouts are done well and in the right place, they're pretty good.
They are more efficient. I think Americans just aren't used to most stuff.
Yeah. Oh, I see a lot.
What the fuck? What am I supposed to do?
I get in one, and
ain't no stop sign. I don't have to stop.
I see one regularly where it's always just a shit show. Like it's always like nobody quite knows what they're doing. And it's like, well, fuck it. I'm not gonna wait for everybody.
I've been like middle of turn. Like, am I supposed to use like my turn signal real quick for like 2 seconds?
I mean, I'm not turning right, but I'm gonna turn right here in a second. Yeah. But we're all turning right because that's the way the roundabout works.
Right. Or do you have to turn your left blinker on as you're going around until you turn right?
All right. So the real question, I mean, the real question.
Real.
So Max already voted too. I'm assuming he voted for Jorgensen. He didn't say. I asked him, but he wouldn't tell. He wouldn't tell in conversation. I don't know if AC has voted yet or not. And so I was like, one of the things I was wanting to do is talk about who has voted and who they voted for and why. Because for me, as somebody who hasn't voted yet, I'm still trying to figure out who I want to vote for. But I'm pretty sure that Max voted for Jorgensen. I'll bet that he voted for some random independent on the Haggerty race. I would really be curious. I'll text him right now and ask him. But I'd really be curious who he voted for in the George Massey race. That's the one I'd like to know. Because there was no, I don't believe there was an independent. Yours? Did you leave that blank one still here?
Yeah, left here last week.
It's in that pile. Yeah, there it is. Is there anybody else in the Massey race? I don't think there was. I think it was just George and Massey. But who you said you voted for? Jane George?
Yes.
What made you vote for Jane George?
I just went party.
Well, that's really fun to talk about.
Yeah, ain't it though?
Trying to make some conversation.
Yes, that's the only 2 that it had in here. I thought about writing myself in for president. I sat there for a good 10, 15 seconds, thought about it, and I was like, can I just leave this section blank and just vote on the other parties?
You can. I mean, you absolutely can.
I was half tempted to.
I mean, that goes into the argument, the argument I had last week, or no, earlier this week with one of my neighbors who said, go out and vote or you're a loser. And I said, okay, but what if I don't want to vote for these two? Well, don't do that. That's worse than not voting at all. But it's important that you vote. And it's like, well, shit, I don't understand what you're saying. Let me see if I can find that one. Which one's this one? Yeah. No, this is a different one. This one is on a Matthew Park post. Matthew Park posted, those who haven't voted, today is the last day for early voting. Obviously, this is Thursday. Right. Also, if you haven't voted, that's public record, and I'll probably be tagging you tomorrow. And actually, that reminds me. Let me go in and talk. I had a conversation with Matt Shears that's a little creepy, interesting, but I'll tell you about that in a second. And so I go and I say, is not voting due to apathy or disdain acceptable? I think our politicians need to think about why some people don't vote, especially here in Tennessee, where our numbers are some of the lowest in the country.
That's one interesting thing or a promising thing that I keep seeing in the news is a lot of states are setting records for as far as at least in early turnout voting.
Well, I think if I read the thing in the Compass correctly, we're way ahead on early voting. We're way ahead in mail-in voting or absentee ballots.
There's something I saw that
and I think
percentage was up like 4,500%.
It's something ridiculous.
I was like, what?
But what I'm curious, like, I think my intentional procrastination might come in handy. I'm curious what our total is going to be. I've got a feeling, because I think they said we're a very small number, like maybe 10,000 short of our 2016 total
already,
all in early and absentee.
Yeah.
And so, like, I've got a feeling that the day of voting here is going to be tiny.
That's what I kind of heard they saw that could be a good thing, that Tuesday won't be as bad, as far as
right.
They're worried about a lot of people like lining up.
Right, but what I'm saying,
making a point to tell a lot of people, like, as long as you're in line, they can't turn you away.
But what I'm saying is that all this amazing early voting and all the numbers that are coming out,
right.
But if the number's still pretty close to the same because nobody votes on election day,
yeah.
And so it's like, oh man, we got so many people on voting, and then it gets election day, and it's like,
oh, everybody just
we hit our average. Good job, everybody.
Yeah. No, I think it'll be above.
Okay. Anyway, so is voting due to apathy or disdain acceptable? A person named Erica responded. She says, nope, unacceptable. Just because it may not affect you directly, the election is extremely vital in the livelihoods of millions of Americans, and we need your support, no matter how apathetic you may be.
I can kind of agree and disagree with that.
Well, the assumption that my apathy or disdain is only for for what these two candidates do for me personally, or what any of these candidates do for me personally. That assumption right there is a little bit presumptive, obviously. It's like, I didn't say my apathy was for what they're doing for me. I said I'm apathetic in general.
Right.
I also said, to be clear, I didn't say me. This was a hypothetical question because I'm going to vote. But anyway, my reply was, A, I'm not saying I fall under that statement, which is what I was just saying just now, or B, which election are you referring to and that went dead? Like, I was like, because it seems very, like, I don't know, maybe I was misreading it, but I feel like that was a very presidential argument that I had. It wasn't the whole ballot. It was really about the Biden-Trump part of the ballot.
Yeah.
And so it's, I don't know, again, it's that the soundbite of get out and vote, make your voice heard, your voice matters. As long as you're voting for the person I'm voting for, it's like, get out and vote. Well, I'm voting for the other guy. Stupid. It's like, what do you want from me?
You go fuck yourself.
Right. It's like, I'm trying to do what you're asking to do, and you don't want me to do it. But that was that one. And then, as I was telling you earlier today about it, with my little back and forth with Mr. Todd, my favorite listener.
Yeah.
He put up a post about he borrowed this from a Twitter. It says 99.999% of Americans survived 9/11, but we still can't bring a bottle of shampoo on the plane. So he's comparing 9/11 to coronavirus, which, as we discussed earlier, is not a great comparison in my opinion. But so my snarky response was, so we agree that government reaction, the cure, is worse than the event, the disease that brought it about. To which he said, or instead you could say it'd be interesting to know what the current anti-mask contingent said about 9/11 restrictions and why masks are an unholy restriction on their constitutional liberties, yet they're mum on the travel restrictions that resulted from 9/11. And I was thinking about that a lot because I think it came in after, I think he messaged that after we talked about it earlier. And I mean, it took I really thought about it a lot, partially to continue the argument because I like doing that. But I was thinking about
when all those restrictions actually went in.
I mean, it was shortly after. It was a little while, but it was shortly after. But
like I was saying, I think there was the shoe bomber. I think they kind of did a few different things.
But the end of the day, it was 20 fucking years ago, or 19 plus years ago.
I think for a while you haven't been able to take like a little pocket knife.
I was 19 years old when 9/11 happened.
Okay, I was 18. Good.
I am not the same person I was 20 years ago.
That's true.
So I mean, even more important than that, though, it's not the same world it was 20 years ago. Facebook didn't exist. MySpace was barely a thing. Barely a thing, if I remember correctly. 9/11. All right, so here's the best comparison I can think of. 9/11, we had my roommate, more than me, but my roommate and I had probably 50 songs in queue on Napster waiting to download all the time. We literally bought stacks of writable discs. Like my roommate was just downloading everything he could get off of Napster and burning it onto discs. Like he probably in our freshman year at UT, because we had that was the first high-speed internet we'd ever touched.
Right. Yeah, that was a T2 or T2 lines.
Yeah, we were getting after it, but I mean, like he literally had stacks. Like we'd go to Walmart and buy the 100 stacks of writable discs,
right.
And he had stacks and stacks. I mean, realistically, he had maybe 1% of the music in the planet or whatever, but still, he himself had obtained a catalog of 1% of the music of the world at that point in time. Anyway, my point is to say that was the internet then. That was the depths of the internet then. You had AOL chat thingy. I can't remember what it's called.
Instant Messenger. They started calling it AIM, I guess. AIM.
Yeah. AOL Instant Messenger. Yeah, you're right. You know, but like that kind of stuff. And so, you know, as we talked about a couple of weeks ago with the social dilemma and all the way Facebook and Twitter and all this stuff works now, we are not the same country.
True.
In the way we interact with each other as a country as we were 20 years ago. I guess the point is to further underscore the idea that that's not a particularly valid comparison between the two. And I mean, I get it, but, you know, I don't know. I mean, because the problem with it to me is that in the way the world worked 20 years ago, there could have been just as many people pissed off about not being able to take their shampoo bottle on the airplane. We just didn't hear about it the way we hear about stuff now. Like we hear so much more now. We interact with so much more now than we do that.
People.
Right. You know, and it's like, you know, kids disappearing, all this different stuff, shootings, like all this stuff you see on the news constantly. I don't know that the numbers are significantly up. We have had a bump this year, obviously, with all the crazy shit going on. But over time, like violent crime is down.
Right. Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
But we hear about it more.
Right.
Like
I think it's more in the forefront just because we're able to report like, oh, this happened in, you know, Billings, Montana, or this happened in Boise, Idaho.
Right. And so suffice to say that
you usually only heard about, you know, something that happened in your city or state.
Right. The outcry could have been similar, is my point.
Yeah.
Or it could have been more. It was just not as publicized as it is now.
You've got that 24-hour news cycle.
Right.
Wait till the next day to hear about what happened yesterday, and now you can find out within 30 minutes of something that just happened.
It already happened twice since you finished reading the article. Two new things have already come out.
Been a correction.
I'm trying to figure out what's going on with this Biden thing, but I really don't. The Hunter laptop thing.
Oh.
Because there's no denial that it's his stuff. That's the part that gets that I'm trying to track. Is like there's no denial that it's his stuff.
I've heard bits and pieces. Like one of the things said there was like video of him like smoking crack on it or something.
I mean, you know, whatever. I'm good with it. Smoke their crack, bro. Ballin'.
I don't know. I mean, one of the reports I heard is that a bunch of like former like national security people, like people that were in national security, looked at it. They're like, you know, this is obviously just, you know, this is most likely just like Russian troll bullshit.
I'd heard that, but.
Just put they put like no validity behind it. And I don't think anybody that's actually put it out has tried to, you know, confirm it. And I'm assuming the Biden campaign is just I mean, I don't know if they're trying to do like above board or it's just like they're not even going to worry about trying to dispel it. You waste your time trying to be like, that's not true, that's not true, that's not true. You're just on your back heels trying to.
Maybe, I don't know.
Trying to deflect every single lie that gets thrown at you. Eventually, you're just like, I'm just going to keep saying the truth. And
Right.
I'm not even going to, address that issue.
I don't know. From what I have heard about it from multiple my different podcast sources, which valid or not, is that there's no denying that it's his stuff. It's just whether or not it's apparently there's a lot of
there's something about like emails that allude
to the big man or whatever, and the question is whether the big man is Joe or not. And
yeah, the fucking orange ass brought that up in the debate. He's like, I think that's you. And it's like, well, that's your point right there. You're just saying, I think, and I think that could be you. And it's throwing it out there to sow doubt.
Well, yeah, and I mean, I'm doubting on it. So whether he succeeded or my other sources for said conversation,
I mean, I think it's
have succeeded. I don't think it's nothing.
I think it's fucking stupid.
I don't think it's nothing. I just think I think it's not abnormal. I think it's the reality. I don't think it's abnormal that things like this happen and that family members do things. I mean, fucking the Trump campaigns, but at least his are technically on staff. But all his family's on staff doing the same shit.
No, I mean, unless Biden's accountants are really good at hiding shit. He said he's released his tax returns.
I mean, what does Jill do?
No idea.
I mean, I don't understand. I mean, this goes across the board for all politicians. Trump's wealth is in question anyway, so it doesn't matter. But I mean, you got a lot of Bernie Sanders is a good example. He's never had a job. He's been in politics almost his entire adult life.
Yeah, I think he started being the mayor of Burlington.
Right, and I think, God, let me look it up so I don't misstate. But I want to say it was multi-million. He is worth multiple millions of dollars in assets and shit like that.
I heard that claim too. And like, he just bought some house, and they were like, yeah, and he just sold his other house.
Nah.
Like he had just bought a nice house in Vermont. He'd also just sold a big house too.
All right, how Bernie Sanders became a millionaire. This is Town and Country.
That's reputable.
I don't know what it is. I've never heard of it.
I think it's meant to sound wholesome.
Bernie Sanders is no means the wealthiest person to enter the 2020 Bloomberg, blah, 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 blah. Recent estimates place Bernie Sanders' net worth just under $2 million. All right, that's not as much as I thought it was. I mean, it's still, in a public service career, that's a lot of money to make over time, but that's not the worst.
Every year, it's 100 and something.
Yeah, I mean, if you didn't spend any of it ever, I guess it would equate to something. But I don't know. I mean, the Clinton family is another one that I get that one grosses me out, but I don't want to die, so I'm not going to talk about that. But do. Yeah, this is exciting. I'm texting while you guys are listening to nothing. Anyway, so what was your other? So you just went D down ticket, including president, or did you write yourself in for president? You said you thought about it.
I considered it. Thought about writing you in. Thought about writing myself in. I thought about leaving it blank, and ended up just going with green.
Why didn't you? What was wrong with Joe?
Huh?
What was wrong with Jorgensen?
I don't agree as much with the Libertarian Party.
What's wrong with the Libertarian Party?
I just don't identify with it as much. I identified more with the Green Party, so I voted for Green Party.
I don't understand this.
I mean, they're not too dissimilar. I was just reading a Newsweek article where they were interviewing Howie Hawkins and Joe Jorgensen. They were both about a percentage point off. I'm not sure when exactly the article was from. They mentioned numbers back in July or August that Jorgensen was running about 3% and Hawkins was running about 2%.
Yeah.
And they said there was another one that was 2% and 1%.
I mean, we should have got the Bourbon Supreme on the Libertarian ticket if we really wanted to be gross about it. But, so, okay. I don't know. We did the episode where we went through Jorgensen's, her website and her stuff.
Yeah.
So what do you like about the Green Party? That what's pro Green Party? Like what's your?
I mean, going off their website, their main Green Party website, was more towards environmentalism, social justice. They advocate for peace. They're for nuclear
Deproliferation.
Deproliferation.
Proliferation. Yeah, you got it. Deproliferation. Yeah.
Yeah, deproliferation.
We're smart.
Reducing nuclear weapons. But they also made a point and said, like, in the one paragraph, kind of talking about that like they're not stupid to the whims of the rest of the world. They're not saying decrease defense.
Right.
They're saying we actually decrease, and I think that's becoming more of a common theme for years.
So what's
as some of the Cold War people kind of gotten away from being afraid
finally.
Not dying, but finally come to the realization. I mean, people that were in the Defense Department during that time of 24 hours a day, 365 days a year,
right.
for
super
like
high alert,
a decade or two. Yeah, we literally had bombers in the air all the fucking time.
Yeah,
just waiting for anything to happen.
Right.
We had missiles that were on the ready, and that's one big fear still now with aging missile sites that we have and other countries have. It's like could a wire trip and all of a sudden shoot off a fucking ICBM.
Yeah,
our systems are set up to pretty much if they've got older.
Right, Moscow's
technology
just gonna disappear.
Because I've heard even like some of the ones some of the equipment we still use now use like the huge 1 foot by 1 foot fucking floppy disks.
Nice.
That you're still putting in there.
Yeah. Don't
There's been some crazy fucked up stories coming out.
If it ain't
of,
broken,
like,
right?
The people that are working in some of our missile silos, like getting caught like asleep basically, and like one of the big. It used to be NORAD at Cheyenne Mountain out in Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be where NORAD was based out of. I'm not sure where they are now. But apparently, like, they left like the big huge door open because they just ordered pizza. So the pizza guy was able to like come into the building to deliver the pizza.
From a fucking bomb door for a shelter. Nice.
Yeah, it's one of those huge fucking doors.
That's good stuff. I mean, you got to get your pizza.
I guess.
What's the Green Party's foreign policy agenda?
They're for reducing they're for cutting our defense budget or our military budget in general.
Okay, but as far as our involvement in world
politics, they want to decrease our military involvement in other countries.
Okay,
they're more for working with other countries because they realize everyone's going to have to live together, especially with them being pro-environmental.
Right,
they want the countries to work together. I'm 99% sure they're for trying to rejoin the Paris Accord.
Okay. I don't know. I mean, like, that sounds legit to me. I'm not mad at that. What else? Sell me on the Green Party ticket. I haven't voted yet.
I know.
I mean, sell me.
You've said it once.
I'm saying, sell me on it.
I was literally just looking at the website not long ago. I've already looked in the Libertarian Party, and from what I read from that, it didn't appeal as much to me.
Okay. What's anything specifically jump out at you?
Some of it was the vagueness and kind of thing. They talked about like education, and they're like, "Oh, we'll make education system better."
Yeah.
So it's like, okay. Well, I think everybody agrees on that. Yeah. I'd say everyone is going to vote for that part of it.
Well, I mean, the general libertarian is you privatize it so that it's not you take the state out of the conversation. And which is why I'm very curious for Monday. I'm very excited for Monday because I'm assuming, and I understand that it's an assumption, I'm assuming that there is a lot of waste in the way the Knox County Schools works. It's from the limited data I already have on it. It is not an efficient program, and there's no.
I say there's probably a lot of like discretionary spending.
Right, but there's no. What's the incentive for them to be better, budgetarily and quality of outcome? I mean, like, because it's again, like you said, like everybody runs on. We're gonna make the schools better, and everybody's kind of got their different methods on to how. And I go into my, it's all about setting up the right incentives conversation in whatever the government's doing. And I don't know that to me, it again, without a lot of deep research into it yet, I don't feel like the incentive structure is set up correctly. 10 years a problem to me. That's one of the things I liked about Eddie Manis when he was talking about it.
And I think part of it, I mean, I'm not that well versed on, just budgets in general, but from what I heard of, like, dealing with the companies that have budgets, everybody's trying to get that budget exactly the same. That way, their higher ups aren't like, oh, you only spent this much last year, so,
right.
It's only much we're going to give you this year.
Right.
And I don't know if it's companies that kind of caught themselves like over time just asking for a little bit more just to kind of increase their budget.
Right.
So like, hey, we did pretty good last year. Like, if we ask for a little bit more, maybe we can buy an extra computer, which would be a good thing. But what are they using that budget for?
Right.
Is it getting close to the end of the year?
Right, and I agree with you that
excess shit on there just to keep it at the same. They're like, oh, we actually were able to operate at this, but we don't want to lose the budget just because we were able to function
right
well enough with a certain amount of money. We
right, I agree that is something that can happen in the larger private industries too.
Right.
But at the end of the day, who suffers from a department overestimating their budgetary needs?
Right. The students.
Well, in the school example, the students would be who, or the quality of education over time does, or you're and I taxes. And
what program we're going to have to cut this year?
Right. But in a company, in a private company that has departments that are overestimating budgets and asking for more than they need and trying to make sure they at least hit the budget they had last year so they can get that budget again, even though they could operate at 10%, 20% less or whatever, shit like that. At the end of the day, on a company standpoint, ownership is the ones that take the hit on that bottom line. And so who's the owner in the school board version of the conversation?
City of Knox County, I guess.
Right. The community at large is the one that's taking that hit.
Yeah.
And is that something we're okay with? Like, if our business, if we were big enough that we had departments and department heads coming to me asking for budgets and I didn't do my due diligence to keep their budgets on task regardless of what they asked for and shit like that, and I make less money as a result, all right, my bad. But that's my money that I'm losing because I'm not doing a diligent job keeping checks and balances in place and making sure everything's done right. But when you have schools that are so easily sold as so important because they are, it's easier to let that budget go and ask for more money from the county or ask for more money from the state or apply for grants through the federal government, all the different stuff like that, instead of going, well, hey, we could do without this thing. We're spending too much money on this thing. It may be a thing we need, but we don't need to spend this much on it. I don't know, obviously, and these are some of the things I want to get into, and maybe the comptroller comes in down the road. But I think Ron can answer most of these questions on a base level for me to try to help me understand at least the broad picture of how it works. And then if I need more details, I'll have to figure out how to get more details from there.
He's the Knox County...
He is the Chief Financial Officer for Knox County Schools.
I almost said that. I was like, is he the CFO?
I believe that's his title. I don't know his exact title, and I apologize, Ron. We'll get it on record officially on Monday. But, so from... what I understand of the job position is the departments come to him asking for money. It's his job to keep that budget that he put in, the budget that the school board puts to the state and county. It's his job to keep that budget on track. And so it's his job to make sure that he's not spending more in certain places than he is allotted. Not that he needs to, that has been allotted by the last year's budget.
Yeah.
So I'm still trying to figure out, some of the different parts about how the money moves in the first place. Because we as a county have put aside a certain amount of money or a certain percentage of the county's income to go into schools automatically. And so I'm still trying to figure out how much the county contributes to the budget.
Right, how much versus state.
For the state.
Is there still federal funding as well?
Right. But then on top of that is that, all of the budget comes from the state through the way the tax structure works. But how much of that is out and right back because of the way the process works? Because all of sales tax in county goes to the state.
Yeah. Especially it's like the lotteries. We've had the lottery for at least 10 years.
Yeah, but the lottery. As far as I understand, the lottery only goes to higher education.
Scholarships.
Right. It's only for postgraduate, post high school. So I don't know. Maybe there may be some little chunk of it that comes back, and I'll be curious if he knows. I'm sure he does if it does come back, but I don't think it does, because that's one of my arguments with the lottery thing in the first place. I would have much preferred them to take that and do the lottery and let that earnings for the state go into the lower education, K through 12, instead of going into higher education. Because one of the things to me, and I asked Becky about this when she was here, and I've talked to a bunch of different about it. Like, one of the things to me I'm curious about is, this shift in time, back to our parents who could have a single parent working. You could have a single parent working right out of high school that never went to college and works a whole career, and the spouse doesn't. You have one parent working, one parent at home, and do pretty well by today's standards as far as,
AC's brought up. He's like, how do we do this, 50, 75 years ago?
Right. And what has changed in that? And one of my assumptions and one of my questions is that I don't know how you put I don't know how you quantify it, but how do you quantify the level of general education coming out of a high schooler? Like, how do you say, okay, well, a high schooler is capable of doing this? Because one of the problems to me, and I think is true, is I think we are in an oversupply of workers. It's part of the problem. Because you have too many people that enter the workforce and not enough not high paying, but good paying jobs out there. Right. And so really, I think college for a good chunk of it is just a way to trim for businesses, just to trim the applicant pool. You have 100. It's not like, I don't know of an example off the top of my head, but you have like a McDonald's, for example. I don't know if this is true for McDonald's, but if you have a college degree, or if they're trying to hire a manager for a McDonald's, it's not a high level job. You don't need to have a lot of skills and experience and blah, blah, blah to do it. You don't need to go to college for it. Right. But if you're a McDonald's, if you're a McDonald's and you're putting out, hey, we need people for this job, you get 1 million people entering for that job. Well, one way to narrow that down is like, out of this ton of people that have entered, how many have college? How many have some college? Right. Well, that narrows it down to 500,000 people. How many people have graduated from college? That's 150,000 people. And you keep, so that's one way for an employer just to easily narrow down a job search, which...
It may not be a degree in that field, but at least shows that that person made an effort to better themselves, at least.
Right, but it doesn't necessarily so my point though is that the education has nothing to do with the job. It's just a way to trim the field.
Right.
And so the education isn't the value. It's maybe
depending on the job.
Right, but it's maybe it shows that you have the ability to learn at a higher level than other people, and that helps succeed. And it's the same thing. I mean, like Max didn't go to college; he went to the Marines, and that on his resume is as good as a college degree for all intents and purposes. Right. But again, it trims the field. It's a way to knock off. You don't have military service, you didn't go to college. Well, that's a way to knock off a big chunk of applicants. Even if the job doesn't require higher education, it's just a way to trim the field.
Oh, most definitely. Yeah.
And so I guess my problem is, or my going back to the original part of it is the quality of the individual coming out of high school equal to what it was 50 years ago? I don't know. That's, to try to respond to AC's like open question that he asked forever ago. I don't know if that would be one of the things I would like to know, if that's something that they can quantify, if that's something that like some sort of statistician could be like, yeah, well, because I think another one that's really easy right off the bat is that, 50 years ago, I don't know what the total U.S. population was, but it wasn't near as big as it is now.
Right.
And so...
Are you wondering if class sizes were smaller?
Maybe not class size. Well, total class, like the senior class of the United States in 1960.
Right.
Was X number of millions.
Right, but were there less schools in general? Right. To feed that, less population.
Right. And so, because I don't know, we got into it last week a little bit about some of it was kind of poking at the libertarian part, but again, a well-educated workforce in a community is important whether you have kids or not. So the schools are important whether you have kids or not, because the schools kick out who works at all the things you do in your day-to-day life, whether you have kids or not.
Right.
And so to sell the importance of school to people that don't have kids, that have already had kids that are through school, or are too young and haven't had kids yet, or decide they don't ever want to have kids, it's still a value to the community. But I'm still curious if it's a value equal to the money, I guess, is what my big question is.
I don't think the curriculum's that much different. I'm pretty sure they were still taking calculus, trig, history.
See, I don't think they did that. I don't think they did some of the higher level maths.
Not trig, but no, they were doing higher level maths.
I think they were doing
still the same people that were going on to college.
I think you got algebra, maybe some of the higher. I don't know. It doesn't matter. I don't want to argue that point because I certainly don't know the answer to it. But
I don't think all of a sudden we just miraculously started all of our our generation was ready for calculus, quote unquote, or whatever.
Well, I think
you still had the
but
same,
you adjust
same amount of people back then.
The curriculum adjusts. I mean, it's one of the things I've talked to a number of candidates about. It's like, what are the jobs in 20 years? Like when my kids are starting graduating high school or going to college or whatever they end up deciding they want to do, what are the jobs that they're going to be that are going to be available, whether they're seeking them or not? And is our education system prepared for that? Because as computers came along, higher level math became a bigger thing, period. Because that higher level math applied to computer science skills.
We were still doing higher level math. It almost made us a little bit lazier because we started having computers do it and less doing it in long form.
Right, but I'm saying to get into the computer industry, to be a programmer, to be a designer, to be a coder, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you got to have higher level math.
Right, and so I think that some of the higher level math got pushed into the curriculum a little bit lower to help that out because that was a bigger job field down the road.
I mean, we had the first one of the first major computers was back in the 40s.
Right, but they didn't know what it was going to. They had no idea what the computers were going to be and how they were going to be in our pockets and all the time. I mean, they started to figure it out, and as they started to figure it out, I think they started to push that into curriculum more.
I think you also had some more like trade. Yeah, you had a lot more trades. You hear, our parents and their parents talk a lot more about wood shop.
Right. And I think that's something that's coming back for sure. That's a big conversation piece. I think one of the ones that Governor Lee put in with his Tennessee Promise or whatever is that you can, you graduate from high school, you automatically get 2 years in like a junior college or a Pulaski State type school or whatever, or a certain amount of time in a trade school. Like they made, like trade schools were specifically added to because of that, because it's one of those. It's the job right now. At least it's the most sought after job field. Like Johnny, the amount of money that fucking kid makes not working right now or barely working at all right now, and he jokes about how stupid the job is and how it's not very difficult or whatever. But how much money he makes because there's not enough electricians to do it, and so those electricians pay those electrical companies pay high dollar for solid, decent electricians.
Right.
And so I mean the work's there. I mean I'm excited. The eldest is into cars. Maybe he'll stay with it. Or maybe he won't. I mean he took apart a lawnmower just because he was curious. And I was like, all right, it's broken anyway. Do it. He's like, I want to make a go-kart. Okay, what do you need? Got to teach him how to weld. I was thinking about that though, like, just through all this stuff in the bars and owning businesses and stuff like that and all the different people I've met, I was thinking about trying to put something together. I don't know, it may already exist. Maybe trying to put something together and doing like a trades day, like trying to put an event together with like, especially with younger kids, elementary, early middle school age kids, doing a trades day where you have a legit welder come out, bring his stuff, show kids how to weld some stuff.
Get an experience of what different trades are.
Right. Right. This is
like,
right.
Oh, I didn't realize that's really a thing.
Right. Get a mechanic out there, get a whatever,
Carpenters.
Yeah. Again, and just like have a day where it's like, you can go out and check some stuff out and do some stuff. I think apprenticeships could come back. I mean, they're still around a little bit. Tattoos and piercings and some of those industries are still big on apprenticeships.
A lot of trades, still do apprentice.
Yeah. I don't know exactly how that works.
Even like require, you've got to be an apprentice for a year before.
Yeah, I know like linemen, like power linemen, they do an apprentice program. Leathernecks, not leathernecks. What's their name? I can't remember. They
use a Leatherman tool is a common tool that a lot of them carry around.
Yeah, they have it. They have like a nickname for like when you cross over, like instead of it being like a master apprentice relationship, it's a apprentice and leatherneck or something like that. I think it's because they're up there on the pole and they get their skin burnt on the back of their neck all the time. So
hair stands up on the back.
No, a lot of them like just sunburn, and so a lot of them have really gross leathery necks. I think is where the joke came from. I don't know. I don't remember, but I don't know. Like that's one of the things as a parent that I think about a lot. I just think about like because for me it was kind of it felt automatic to me. It wasn't really a choice to go to college for me. It wasn't do you want to go to college? It's which college do you want to go to?
Yeah.
It's like I don't know, that one over there, I guess. And I mean literally it's like I had no desire to run away from home, and like I wasn't like my sister was. My sister she stayed in state, but she went to the far other end of Wisconsin when she left
I mean, I know they talked about it a little bit. You know, we were in school. You had the vocational path you could go down, but it was never really explained that well. You know, there was the college prep and vocational path.
Well, I think
even the vocational path was kind of like BS. Like I never really.
Well, and I think socially, I think it was whether it was intentional or not. I think there was a stigma to it. I think there was like, oh, the vocational class for the dumbasses, like it's for the losers. I felt. I mean, I looking back at it, I think that was real. I don't think I was imagining that.
No.
I don't know that it was intentional.
So we didn't really have any like vocational things. Like there was no woodworking. There was a woodworking shop that was just.
I mean, I took electronics. I took 2 semesters of electronics. I took 2 semesters of automech there.
Yeah.
And it was more, but they were electives.
That's it.
But I mean, they were also like electives. There was like, oh, just something to do for fun. It wasn't really something to do because you wanted to do like I took.
I think it was required if you were on that vocational path.
Right. I took electronics because I was curious about it.
Yeah.
And I kind of wish I would have stuck with it because it'd be something to be handy to do right now. Obviously, Johnny, you fucking douche, making all the money. But I mean, he makes 6 figures being as an electrician. It's fucking real money.
No, he's also working for the government.
That's true too. It's because they have such tight, clean budgets. No, but
I mean, I don't think it was ever really talked. I would like to see more kind of,
do you remember a career day? Do you ever remember doing a career day in high school?
That's my recollection.
I recall doing 1 or 2, and I remember doing a couple at UT too. But I remember
times that
it was like a Saturday or
that they did that, but it was more like it was more like a job fair, or it was like staffing companies that showed up just trying to get you to,
or a bunch of freaking recruiters from the military coming.
Yeah, they had a stand too. Yeah.
You want a cool job in the Air Force?
You want a bracelet? Here you go. You want a lanyard? Here you go.
Here's some random crap.
Yeah,
but I mean, because I think that's. I don't know, because I'm thinking back on one of the ones I want to say like my mom made me go to one. I want to say it was like a Saturday or it was after school. It wasn't in school time. It was outside of school, but it was at the school. And I want to say it's like I don't
remember one.
I don't remember. Just I maybe it was when I was at UT. It's just like I don't remember what I was doing. Like what am I supposed to get out of this? Like I'm just going to talk to people about careers that I might be curious about. And it's like I don't know. Maybe it's just me, and I don't know if you're in the same boat as me or not. But like for me, I didn't have like I want to do this. I've never had that in my life until now. This thing right here, this podcast is the only thing I'm like, I want to do that. I would love to make that a job.
No, I mean, I never had like a true like one desire once I got out of high school, like, I'm going to go do this.
Right.
Once I got things I was interested in, I'm like, I can maybe do this, maybe do that. And I was like, I'll figure it out, here in a couple of years, maybe.
Right. When I left the corporate restaurant, I take that back. The first restaurant I worked in was a little mom and pop. And I think that seeded the bug of wanting to own for me. I think there was always there was always something businessy to me. I was like, the money, economics, trading money, that kind of thing. It was always like, I was like, okay, I can dig on that, but never with a passion. Like none of it was ever like, I wanted it. And, I mean, even where I'm at right now, it was happenstance opportunity and the most ridiculous affair, which I saw them today. Nice. I saw them at one of the grocery stores, and I avoided, but not hard. Like I didn't go 5 aisles over just to make sure I didn't run into them. But I was also like, I'm gonna let them get a little further, and then I'm gonna go do what I'm doing. Yeah. And it's like it stuck with me for a while, for like probably a good hour or two after I was thinking about it. I was like, why is that so weird? Like, what is it exactly that makes that situation so weird?
See, it was.
I mean, it's a weird situation.
Your kind of closeness to the situation, but also your kind of like distance of it.
That's what I'm saying.
You were well aware of it, but you weren't in that close circle. But
right, like I was like
you've also kind of like filled in part of that hole that was created by it.
And I was like kind of a kid in a divorce, I guess, sort of. Yeah. And so it's like, well, but it's like still, But anyway, so yeah, I got to where I am today from being a good employee for Max and this other guy for a while, and then being a good customer essentially to Max when I was running the bar, because Max was our sales rep, and kind of keeping that relationship in fantasy football. Those things combined kept me in contact with Max, because we weren't really good friends. We worked together and we were okay, and we played fantasy football and all that stuff. And then when they decided to do this and didn't want to quit their day jobs, they needed somebody to help them with it. And that's where I came in. And then explosion happened, and then I borrowed some money from my dad and had a bankruptcy, and here we are, making real money finally.
Like going back to education, I think I've mentioned it before. From what little I understood of how it was explained, the way they do kind of like high school in Germany, it was almost geared more towards college, to where, and I understand, I mean, when you're at that age, most people don't know what they want to do. But
Courtney talked about that too when she was here. Her kids went on a summer abroad or something like that, and I think she said they were like 15, 16 or something like that. One, I don't remember exactly, but that when they came back or they called one night or something like that, they were talking about the level that these kids were at compared to them. Because like she was saying, like her kids are like top class at Central, I think is where they go. You know, they're up there in the higher tier of that school or whatever. And they're like, we're so far behind. I don't understand. Like they're doing stuff that we've barely begun the basics of, and they're on the high levels of it. Yeah. And and so, but like, yeah, Courtney was saying, like essentially it's like 16, you're in college already, essentially. Like you graduate. You don't graduate per se, but you start into college stuff in what we would consider still at the high school
saying
ages.
They could. He was almost. I think he said it was geared more towards people that were going to go into trades, that they could basically graduate, you know, quote unquote, with, you know, I'm sure with like a certain type of degree. They didn't say you would get a full diploma, but it's probably like a minus diploma or something, and not quite a full diploma. You still graduated, but only to a certain level.
I mean, it'd just be like
but it was basically, you know, I guess if you were like, you know, hey, you know, my dad's been a plumber, like I don't need to go on to higher education. You know, I would like to learn more into my field. You know, I'd still want to go to school, but I want to quit doing the basic learning and, you know, focus on my trade, basically. I mean, you had people like Roland that one of his majors was English, so he basically went to, literally when he got done doing the 12th grade here for us, he went back and they have a 13th grade there, which is where you could do kind of like your main focus. So his was English, so that was his major. So
what was it? I mean, to teach English in Germany, or what was he trying to do?
I don't know what his ultimate goal was, but I guess you kind of pick a major.
When's the last time you talked to him?
It's been years.
Yeah.
Apparently it was his birthday a few days ago. Like I've sent him a couple messages on Facebook, but he's never responded. Like I don't know if he just never checks it or
maybe he's our German. No, you're our German listener. I forgot you use your VPN. I was going to say maybe you're our German listener. We had Brazil all of a sudden out of nowhere. That's fun. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, and again,
but I don't know if it's necessarily their psyche, but I don't know if they do have more a little bit individualized, if they sit down with a counselor, you know, a couple times a year and they're like, hey, how things going? You know,
I'd be really curious.
Things you're interested in.
Right. I'd be really curious to know what the supply and demand conversation is about workers. You know, whether the industries that are going on in Germany is, you know, especially like engineering, everybody's like, Germany's known for like high well-engineered stuff. They make the best cars in engineering terms and this, that, and the other. And whether that has brought about a higher demand for X, Y, and Z, and so the schools have adjusted to it. But really,
I'm sure that happens in America as well.
But the population is what I was leaning into is the number of kids getting out of school and going either into higher education or into the workforce, and more importantly, the number of kids going into workforce every year, and what the jobs are when they're getting out of school to go, and whether it's, you know, there for every 10 jobs there's 11 kids graduating, or is for every 10 jobs there's 8 kids graduating. So there's demand. And I think that's one of to me, that seems to be an issue to me in the States outside of the trades. If we had more kids in the trades, that's already a thing. There's more demand for trade workers than there are people willing to do the work, or trained and educated to do the work. That is a problem there. Now, if we balance that out where it's a closer even number, what does that leave us with the rest? Because to me, it's still there's
people just trying to fill holes.
But I'm just saying, I'm just saying, like in the professional fields, like if we had a bunch more people, like if we got to the point where the trades were full, and every year there's 10 new jobs opening in the trade fields, and there's 10 kids that are going to fill those jobs, does that now change the math on the other side, where the computer engineers and the lawyers and the doctors and all the other side of it start to level out as well? And then the demand and supply
has been a big push in the past 5 or 10 years, just with the common knowledge that the baby boomers are getting older, and
which is going to be interesting.
Gonna be a need.
What happens when the baby boomers start really dying off?
Right.
And all of a sudden that demand for all the healthcare workers that was needed, and that generation starts going, because our generations are dropping from there, right? Or are we still a bigger
Slightly,
generation
but
than us?
not by much.
Really, I don't know the
I
numbers.
mean, the population itself is still growing. I mean, we're still getting people that are moving to America, but I mean, I don't know if they've gone so far as to incentivize it, but you know, there's been a lot more. You see a lot more commercials, you know, kind of talking about nursing, and a lot more people talking about, you know, healthcare, and we need more nurses. But you know, one thing that still blew my mind one day, we were in when I was in Germany at the high school, and they had a essentially I think it's kind of like a class election, and there was, you know, probably at least 100, maybe 150 students in there. These are all 13th graders, I'm assuming, so you know, 18-year-olds basically. But I looked around and realized I don't think there was a single teacher there, but everybody was respectful. You didn't have to like wait for everybody to like, you know, quiet down just to like listen to one person speak. And I was just like, this is high school? I'm like, everybody's being respectful. Like, what, where am I? Like, it was just amazing. You go to like, you know, a civic assembly or whatever in high school.
Right.
You spend 5 minutes just trying to get everybody to shut up.
Right.
And, hey, please stop talking. Please be respectful. You know, listen to the talker.
All right, everybody settle down.
Yeah, and this was like basically it was like students leading this assembly, and like no other teachers were around. And maybe they were in the periphery and I didn't notice, but I was just surprised how respectful people were being.
They probably don't want to get hit with a stick or something like that. Maybe there's.
That could be part of it. But you could also leave campus during the day. Like we left and like went to McDonald's a couple times or whatever. Still cool. I got to drive, but my German friend couldn't because he didn't have his license yet. I probably technically should not have been driving. I think by law I should have had an international driver's license to be driving there, but
Yeah.
I'd say most cops probably wouldn't have said anything. You know, my friend's parents are basically like, oh, you've got a driver's license, you know, you've been driving for a couple of years, you know, basically you have more knowledge of somebody that hasn't taken a class. Over there it costs like, I think he was going to pay like $1,500, and I think he was getting a deal, but it was a good like 2 or 3 month long class where you've got a bunch of hours like on the road just to get your driver's license.
Huh.
It's not like 5 minutes, take 4 right turns. Oh, here's your license. Good job.
Yeah,
you didn't kill anybody. You win.
Yeah, I think my total driver's test was like a quarter mile, maybe a half.
Yeah, that's what mine was.
All right, here we go, people. I'm going to go ahead and say the time change. It's not midnight, but I'm going to say it's midnight.
Clack, clack.
That's my first beer in a month, people.
Yeah, I was surprised. I think I shared the article that I guess the state of Tennessee, I didn't actually read the article yet, but I guess we voted last year that we're going to
the time change
start
isn't
moving away
anything?
from the time change. I think people keep telling me this whole state of Nevada doesn't observe time savings. There's a handful of like cities that haven't adopted time savings.
Right, there's like a chunk of Indiana, like 3 counties all together in Indiana that don't, or something like that. Yeah, I don't understand. I mean, I don't know. I don't think it's.
I understand the way people have explained it for years, but I mean,
it's nice. Like
it can totally go both ways.
Right, like right now it's nice because it goes like it gets, in the mornings especially, like taking the kids to school now at 7:30. It's still dark leaving the house.
Yeah.
Where after time change, you know, so when we go to school Monday, and then we're off Tuesday because of the election, but when we go to school Monday, it'll be light, it'll be well lit, and then, you know, by the time we get mid-December, when it's the longest or shortest day of the year, it's still twilight, or whatever the morning version of twilight is. Twilight. Anyway,
Dawn.
Yeah. There's still enough natural light to get out and have the kids moving around and not being in the dark. And if you don't change it back, it gets dark too early. I don't remember.
Hey, but I wonder how different it is from like Miami to Bangor, Maine, as far as, you know, sun up to sundown.
Right. Well, I mean, we're here in a weird spot because we're so far. We're not weird spot.
And Alaska's like, we get fucked all like the whole fucking year. We
Right.
get total daylight or total darkness.
Right.
Like,
It doesn't matter what time you change the clock to.
Yeah.
It's still dark.
It's summertime, and we get like 2 hours of nighttime.
Yeah. Which apparently totally fucks with people.
Yeah, it messes with a lot of people.
I would.
Especially like during the winter. I mean, they have, you know, they've had articles now about, and they have every year about the seasonal affective disorder. Of just, you know, less light, and people, it's colder, so people are generally inside more often. You know, higher rates of depression.
Which brings us to COVID. No, we're not doing it. I'm not doing it. Fuck it.
But they have it also in like Scandinavian countries. But some of those Scandinavian countries are still ranked among like the quote unquote happiest countries in the world.
It's because they do the spas and shit, man. The fucking not spa, the saunas.
I mean, there's another reason they have a lot less stress.
Sauna's good for you.
And the sauna is the Finnish say it, where the sauna was invented. Motherfuckers are hardcore. You go in like a sauna, which is like you get like 120 at least, if not more.
I was layered.
They'll go outside like and jump in the hole in the ice.
Right.
Like normal people, if you and I did that, there's a good chance that we would literally have a heart attack.
It's very possible. But was Laird Hamilton? You read up and heard it? He's been on Rogan a couple times.
See the guy that holds like the record
for
staying in the sauna the longest?
Maybe. Like apparently he's a psychopath. Like he gets in there and it's as hot as the sauna will let it go. It's just like 180. And he has a stationary bike in there.
Jeez.
And he has to wear oven mitts on his hands so that he can hold on to the handlebars because the bike is so hot it burns the skin.
But not burn Laird.
But yeah, like he's apparently a psychopath. But he's like 50 something years old and still surfing like the biggest waves on the planet. And he's married to Gabby Reese, I think.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I didn't realize. I read the other day. It's his first name. We kind of mentioned it. The Senate race going on in Arizona. Is it John Kelly? He's former astronaut, real famous astronaut. His wife is Gabby Gifford, she was the one that got shot. I don't remember exactly what happened.
Isn't she a senator from there too, or something?
I think she was a congresswoman.
How's that work? I think Are you allowed to do that? Can you have couples run for? That'd be a fun little social experiment.
I mean, I guess as long as you're not in the same body. I mean, they're both in Congress. I don't think she's still a congresswoman.
No. Like I don't know why it just popped in my head. Be a funny social experiment. Have a like.
I think she did or does have some brain damage, so she may have kind of like, resigned basically. I don't remember exactly what happened with it. I know at one point she came back to the Congress floor and she got a standing ovation that she was finally back. But I was like, I didn't realize that was her husband.
I need to get the election commission back in here and ask a question. I got a curiosity. If me and the missus both ran for county commission, we would run on separate tickets, or not separate. We would run for separate parties. We would be running against each other. Is that okay? Like, what would happen
as long as only one of you wins?
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, what kind of election would that be? It's like,
it would raise some eyebrows.
You have a choice between Mr. or Mrs.
I'm voting for Barbara. Which one?
All the signs around town would be really confusing. That'd be hilarious. Oh, it's not. I'm going to be sad on Wednesday. Well, I'm going to be happy it's my birthday, but I'm going to be sad on Wednesday when I take all my signs down.
I mean, it's going to be interesting. I mean, I hope more people realize that we're most likely not going to have good election results
for
the night
weeks,
of like we've expected.
I mean,
at least for days. But
did you listen to the Rogan with what's his name? The fucking crazy guy. Fuck.
Oh, Alex Jones?
Yeah.
No, I decided not to click on that yet.
Yeah, 80 days of... he's predicting 80 days of chaos. That's the time... Or 79 days. The time period... That's the time period between Election Day and the swearing in of whoever
there was
wins.
A guy I ran into the other day that came in and was like... He was trying to get his car into the shop. Because he thinks he wants to get ready to get out of town, just in case buildings start burning. And I'm like, that shit ain't.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm getting my I'm doing my carry permit test this next week, and I'm gonna get my lifetime. I was gonna just get a yearly, but I was like, I'm gonna go ahead and get my lifetime.
Yeah,
I mean, I guess they could
in the long run.
Yeah, and I guess they could take if whomever does take guns away, they could take my permit away anyway.
What the fuck?
I'm just saying it doesn't matter.
Stupid. How long have they been saying the Democrats are going to take my guns away?
It doesn't matter.
Not how long.
I don't fucking know.
I mean, just guess.
I don't honestly care.
I mean, I'm saying at least 25 years. 20 to 25 years. Because the Brady bill, which was one of the big... I think that had banned some assault rifles. And that was early to mid-90s. But ever since then, it's been like this conspiracy. The Democrats won't take your guns. And how many guns have been taken away?
I don't know.
And yet they still want to harp on that. And everyone still fucking believes it.
Oh, okay. So hate on it however you want to hate on it.
I think it's
Beto,
fucking stupid.
Beto,
yes, Beto said that.
In the primary,
yeah,
I'm going to take your fucking guns. Minus the fuck. That's a quote out of his mouth. and then Biden has tapped him to be whomever in charge of his gun control policy when he is elected, if he is elected.
Well, Biden has come out and said he is not taking away guns.
I'm just saying if that's not intentionally posturing on the part of the Democrats right there, I don't know. I mean, how if you might be right. It might be one of those super rhetoric things that gets the base excited, and that's what they do it for.
Just a business ploy, as far as
right. That's what I'm saying.
It comes down to a negotiation.
Like everybody
wants to feel like they won something out of it.
I assume that there are, like, they talk about single issue voters, and I think gun control is probably one of those that's a single issue voter. It's probably more one way than the other. In the fuck no, gun control's bad. It's probably more of a single issue than, I mean, that was AC's argument of why he's not going to vote for Biden, because Biden's actual listed gun control plan. And I don't know. I'd be curious to know. I'm sure there are some people that are single voters the other way. If you're not going to do something about guns, I'm not voting for you. And if that wasn't the move that the Biden team was making by putting Beto, how do I say it right? I didn't mean to say it wrong before. If that wasn't the intended move by that appointment, for lack of a better word, I don't know why you would do that anyway. And so my point is that it seems to me that the Biden team is playing that rhetoric on purpose that way.
I don't think they've addressed gun control at all outside of
Trump trying to say that he's going to take away your guns, and Biden's like, I've never said I'm taking away your fucking guns.
But I'm just saying, why would he not? Why would you tap Beto for that position?
I wasn't aware that he was tapping Beto for what position now?
I don't know.
Is there a gun control czar that he's going to create?
He's going to put him in charge of his gun.
He's going to make the gun bigger?
I believe I believe it was something along the lines of, I'm going to put him in charge of my gun control policy. And yeah, you're right. It was totally one of those, hey, drop out of the race so that I can beat Bernie.
Oh, no, I meant bargaining chip as far as, like, saying something that you want because, the other side's going to have to concede something. You're going to have to concede something as far as just gun control.
Okay.
It's like, we want to ban, XYZ. And they're like, no, we're not going to ban XYZ. And like,
but we'll let you ban
we'll ban X. Yeah.
Right. Which is but you hate that Trump did the same move, essentially, in saying he wasn't going to talk about COVID relief until after the election. And then he said, no, it's just a bargaining chip.
That's what he said.
I'm saying that. I mean, he did
okay.
He did exactly what you're talking about that the Biden team did with the gun control conversation. He did the exact same thing.
All right. When that came out, that was just another day that stocks crashed yet again.
I'm just saying, like, I don't fucking care.
Okay, yes, I will come back. Well, no, it's fucking totally different. That's us, like, trying to come together with a budget plan, which I didn't realize right around that same time was our quarterly. It ever seems to happen like every other fucking month that, if we don't balance the budget, we're going to be in default once again.
Right.
It's another thing that
shut down the government.
Yeah.
I mean,
he's number one in doing that. He shut down the government for the longest president ever.
Well, they're good. I have no issues with that.
No, I thought it was pretty fucked up.
I'm sure it is pretty fucked up. It's pretty fucked up that we can't keep.
He did make a point. He did it make a fucking point.
Okay, that the government continues to constantly change the rules as the way they spend money.
Who did that hurt? We literally had federal workers that were lining up in like soup kitchen lines.
Okay.
Okay.
So who's paying for it? How long are we going to, so this deficit spending that we've been doing since LBJ, who took us off the gold standard. And
great, but it keeps the fucking train going instead of like temporarily derailing it. And they're like, oh, wait, now we got to put this shit back together so we can get back going again.
Okay, so how long until there's no, how long until there's no more? But we're okay with that. Like, monetary policy is an issue for me. That's a big issue to me, period.
We pass budgets every fucking year.
Right, and they're always deficit budgets. They're never, like, Clinton, a nice thing to say about Clinton actually passed a balanced budget and actually ended up a couple of years when he was in office.
He got us out of deficit.
Under budget. Right. He ran a surplus budget.
I'm curious to go back and see how exactly he did that.
I don't know.
Because apparently he's been like the only
blowjobs,
president
all the blowjobs.
that's done it, like, in recent history. Like, you don't hear of that happening.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like, as much as I know I come across
Like,
as a Trump supporter from time to time,
Did we raise taxes at a certain
Trump
point
is-
that we were bringing in more taxes at that time? Or is it
Trump is as
because we
bad
didn't
or
have
worse
as many
than-
military wars at the time? Or?
Trump is as bad or worse than anybody in deficit spending. And I mean, it's one of those things to me that the libertarian guy who doesn't like to say this phrase, but there should be a law. You cannot fucking spend money we don't have. You can't keep taking loans out against our kids. It's going to come at some point.
I agree with you to a point, but at this point, I mean, we're really like just throwing more pennies in the bucket. I mean, what's our deficit at now? How many trillions of dollars?
Right. Yeah.
And we're talking about going to debt just a little bit more.
Just a
I mean,
couple trillion more dollars.
I'm not totally for that, but I'm saying it averts a government shutdown.
But okay, so what did we lose? Okay, so I guess the real question would be, what did we lose in the couple of weeks here and there, or we had like 6 weeks a couple years ago that we actually had the government shut down for like 6 weeks? Do you know who still got paid? Trump. All of Congress, all the Senate. Their salaries didn't change. It's just federal workers, just normal people working that work for the government that didn't get paid. But, that part being fucked up in and of itself. But take that part off the table. Like, what happened? Like, what did we lose? And this is a real question. This isn't me being a dick. Like, did food stamps stop?
I'm assuming not.
Did like housing assistance stop? So what actually stopped? This is my question. Like, what actually stopped other than
federal workers getting a paycheck?
Okay, so federal workers doing what?
Working.
What kind of work? That's what I'm asking. Like, this is a real question. I'm not trying to be a dick here. I'm actually trying to understand.
I mean, honestly, there's many federal workers out there. I don't know what the fuck all they do, but we've got, federal workers in Oak Ridge. Get federal workers in, like, I don't know anything in the federal level.
So
there's lots of administrative people that are in the federal government. There's many of people that get federal. I mean, we were talking about holidays the other day, like, yeah, it's a federal holiday, but how many people actually get the day off? There's a large chunk of people that get federal holidays off because they work for the federal government.
Or the banks, but yes.
Or the banks, yes.
But again, my point is like, what happens when I can't pay my employees? They don't have jobs.
It's on the employee, yeah.
They don't have jobs. Okay. So who loses?
Everybody?
Me.
Oh, just you. Okay.
Well, you can go get a job. I mean, you have skills. You can go get another job.
Yeah.
But everything I have invested is gone. If I can't pay my employees, if I'm to the point where I can't pay my employees,
well, it depends on
I presumably can't pay my other bills.
Did you break even and just fire all the employees, or did you?
I mean, I can't continue to operate without my employees.
Correct.
So yeah, maybe over the span of time, I broke even. Sure,
you would realistically think about
my future earnings are affected.
That, like, I'm only going to go in so much into the hole before I just fire everything and shut the doors and lock it down.
Okay, so in your analysis, I'm already in debt.
No, I'm assuming that you're intelligent enough to have a certain, if you could foresee it, that things were going down and down and down, you'd be like, all right, I'm going to set a certain level that if it gets down to this, I'm just going to have to close it all down.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's how we did it. I mean, the one bill that never didn't get paid when we were going through the worst of it, and I went through a bankruptcy, and Max went through his as well with me. The one bill that always got paid was payroll. I mean, that's just moral decency to me. Like, it's shitty that there's people that we technically still owe money to out there that it may have made a big difference to them, and it sucks, and I hate myself for it, but it happened. But my staff always got paid. My point is, on the functional level, other than those employees who lost their job for a day or a week or 6 weeks or whatever, all had their jobs when they came back, but that's not the point. What did we lose as the customer to this company when the government shut down?
I don't know what you're talking about. We again. You're talking about the federal. Okay.
You and I being the citizenry
would lose out on?
Would be the customers of.
I mean, I don't think mail was delayed, but I don't know if there was any effects upon that.
Okay.
I mean, off the top of my head, I have no fucking clue.
Okay.
I mean, nothing.
So does that not illustrate the lack of
that greatly affected me directly?
Okay, so does that not kind of illustrate the lack of need for the massive amount of people that work for the government? That we can shut down for 6 weeks and nobody that doesn't work for the government directly really notices? Other than you hear about it on the news?
I mean, I guess that's how you want to look at it. I mean, is it going to affect me if a giant Amazon warehouse shuts down? No, because I don't buy shit on Amazon.
Okay.
Is it going to affect a bunch of other people? Yeah. Does it affect me? No.
Okay.
Is it going to affect most of the rest of the U.S.?
Again, well,
probably not.
Even in the news coverage of all the government shutdown, other than the employees that are in their soup lines, which sucks. I totally agree. Did you hear any stories about people being affected that weren't employees of the government by the government shutdown?
No, but it trickles down. You've got those federal employees that, can't go out and don't have money to buy food. They're also not going out and shopping and spending money at other places.
So our economy
they're also not paying rent.
Our economy needs to be based on government spending to function? Because those employees are government spending.
Our economy is based on people being able to spend money, which is what's going on right now with the coronavirus. Most people are saving money, and they're not going out and spending as much in a lot of places.
So couldn't we spend the same amount of money on just giving people money and not giving them jobs that do nothing, essentially? Because then they still have money to spend on stuff, and the economy still rolls. We just don't have them doing jobs for nothing.
We do it.
I mean, we're doing it right now, and it's stupid. But that is the illustration I'm trying to get to. If the only effect is the employees don't have money to spend, and that affects the economy, then why don't we just give people money to spend? If they're not doing anything functionally in the grand scheme of things, what's the point?
I don't get where you're going with this.
Okay, I'm trying to think of how to...
You lost me.
Okay, I follow your logic in that if some government office shuts down and stops paying their employees, those people stop spending money on food and groceries and going out to eat and
take their kids to daycare.
Right, all the different stuff that they spend their money on, and then that affects the economy broadly in the sense that the restaurants lose, the grocery stores lose, the landlords lose, the daycare owner people lose, and all that stuff like that. I get that part. But take that same person. So if we're going to minimize the conversation or minimize the illustration here and just take that one person that lost their job because they worked for the federal government for some reason. They're not getting paid for a period of time because the government shut down because they can't balance the budget. So that one person is not spending money. That affects whatever. But just forget the budgetary part of the conversation. But if nothing changes functionally from the work that person is or isn't doing, then just give them a check to not work. And the result's the same as when the government's operating. So what's the point is what I'm getting at of whatever this person is doing on a day-to-day basis.
With that. I mean, if it was, say that person was an administrative person, they're that much further behind in the paperwork.
And what is the paper? Again, how does that affect
whatever the fuck their job is?
That's what I'm asking. That's what I'm trying to understand.
You shut down a factory. There's a big loss in having to turn all the machines off and having to turn everything back on.
Right, but I'm not talking about turning it on and off. I'm talking about what is the day-to-day, like what is the day-to-day value? Okay, again, you and I are the customers as citizens.
It depends on the job.
Pick one. I don't care which one you want to pick one. Pick one of the people that didn't get paid for a while because
somebody that's doing clerical tax work throughout the year. They don't work, just 1 month out of the year. I'm assuming they're working on the fucking taxes.
Clerical tax work for who?
They're federal workers, so I'm assuming they're doing it for the federal government.
Okay, so government doesn't pay taxes, do they? What's like an HR worker? I guess
kind of like, HR crunching numbers.
Okay, so who are the people they're crunching numbers for?
The government. Right,
but who are the employees that they're HRing for? And what are those employees? And this is my point. I'm trying to get to there is work. People do work, and there's value to that work, and that's why you get paid. That work does a thing, and sometimes that thing is crunching numbers.
They're going over the budgets of the FBI's, drug task force.
Okay, so it's FBI. So were the FBI officers getting paid? This is what I'm trying to figure
Don't
out.
fucking ask me hypothetical.
I don't know.
Questions of a supposed hypothetical. I don't know.
My point.
I'm assuming the FBI was still running. I don't think they shut down the FBI during a government shutdown. I'm assuming they shut down non-essential workers and told them they were laid off, or just didn't give them a paycheck. Like, you can come in if you fucking want. We ain't paying you. I don't remember exactly how all that went down.
All right, yeah,
I will try to research.
That was a waste of time. That is something that's interesting, but we don't. Neither of us have enough detail because that's what
I only said it just to
my point.
Make a poke at Trump for being number one and shutting down the government the longest. But he even bragged about I'll shut her down.
But my point is, if at the end of the day there's not a huge effect. If there's not a huge...
Exactly. There was no huge effect of him even doing it. It didn't benefit him, but it ended up hurting more than it helped anybody.
You're correct on that, but there's not a huge effect
he did it just to make a fucking point.
But if there's not a huge effect of it not functioning either, that's my question. And we don't... we don't know the details.
Not quite on those same lines, but that's what I think the companies are looking at now with the coronavirus. A lot of people working from home. A lot of companies are saying like, hey, they've even found that a lot of employees are happier working from home. They're actually more productive.
Yeah,
but they're like, hey, like if we don't have to rent out,
it's gonna be interesting.
Suite in a strip mall, just to have an office. If you can do the same thing from your house and you're getting your shit done and you're better.
So to move back a second, who am I voting for?
Whomever you choose.
See, but I need help.
You got to make sure you fill in the box completely with a red or blue pen.
The Scantron's hilarious, but whatever. I really want my copy back. Like, you stick it in the machine, and I want it back on the other side. I want to take it home.
The machine wasn't that big, and now that you say it, I don't know where it went.
There's just a trash can on the other side.
It's a thick piece of paper, yeah. I thought I did hear a shredder going.
I think they stack. I mean, I'm assuming that my assumption on it is the point is that they have a hard copy if they have an issue, and they can go back and find the hard copies. I think they'd probably take them all, put them in a box, and if there's questions, they can go pull them out of the box and go back down through them.
One thing that I was wondering, at what point during the process, or is it just mail-ins, where they're verifying your signature matches?
Never.
So that's one thing I didn't realize. I know we talked about it a few other times when we kind of touched on mail-in voting, and Max was like, "Oh, anybody could sign this, and you just send it in, or you can sign it for your daughter." From what I've actually seen of experts that actually know about the election process, is there's a lot of it may just be mail-in voting. I want to say is what they were referencing, when there's a lot of those that get rejected because your signature didn't match up with the signature they have on file, which I think is generally through the DMV or your voter ID card.
Yeah, I don't know.
So I don't know. I didn't have to sign my voter ID card, but I think they verified off of that. It was interesting. They went to these. It was predominantly black neighborhood, but they kind of went through and showed a list of all the people's votes who in the previous election their ballots got thrown out
because their signatures are bad
for signatures or some kind of weird clerical error, but they were never notified. And I think they were saying only certain states require that the county election commission notify you that hey, there was an issue with your vote. But it seemed like, for the most part, those people, were it blew their mind. They're like, wait. I went through the trouble and voted, and my vote didn't count. It got rejected for something, and nobody told me. They were like, what the hell?
Yeah.
And then there were actually somebody who was actually advocating for people to go out and vote. And the camera crew or news program that was with them was like, yeah, your name's on here. She's like, oh, I know that lady. She's a community organizer. Like, oh my God, her vote didn't go through. What the hell's going on?
Right. Yeah, I don't know. It goes into the, well, how do we vote better? That's one of the real questions. I think it's one of those that needs an overhaul. I think there's better ways.
We're trying to touch on, there's so much thing in the news about, all these voting systems being so corrupt and so easily manipulated. But
yeah. It's
actually a very safe system. If you talk to all the actual experts, people that have been on election commissions for years,
What is the current system? What do you mean?
Our current system, yeah.
Yeah. We've talked about this before.
States that have done mail-in votings for years.
I've never had a hard time. I've never had a hard time voting.
Or white too.
I think one of the big failures on the Trump campaign part of things, and this is their failure, and I'm not agreeing or disagreeing with it. I think their failure was to
I would think if he's
to show the difference to clarify the difference in solicited and unsolicited ballots. And I think that's what I think that's the biggest thing in the mail-in ballot conversation.
I think they did that intentionally.
Maybe you might be right, but to me, I think that's what I think to me that's what left the argument. That's what made the argument a little bit muddier. And again, you might be totally right on that. Actually, that's a good point.
I mean, and if I was a Republican and I heard a candidate that I would we thinking about voting for, and they're telling me it's a rigged election, that would almost disenfranchise me that much. Like, oh, it's a rigged election. Like, there's no point I go out and vote. Like, it's all rigged.
I mean, what's funny to me thinking about it is like the reality is the best case scenario is we need a landslide victory. There's one that's got a hole in it. Don't give me that one. We need a landslide victory by one of the two.
I mean, that's the hope.
But
there's going to be,
Well, you voted for the Green Party guy?
Yeah.
Well, you're not helping that landslide, and I'm not either. Neither is Max. We'll see if we can
get
an
an all or nothing state that has gone red for I don't know how many fucking years.
Yeah.
And there's very low chance of it.
I agree.
Going blue.
I agree. I think that's one of the things I want to do too, but we'll get to that in a second. I think it's gonna be something. Come Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
If I mentioned in the group chat.
Thanksgiving.
I was surprised to find that I think Maine. Hopefully, there's other states that actually does do the ranked choice voting.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was specifically just they were talking about the. It was the Senator Suzanne Collins, I believe, out of Maine. Apparently, in that race, it may just be that Senate race. I don't know if they do it for president as well, but they actually have a ranked choice voting.
And it's a runoff and a runoff and a runoff, yeah.
I don't know if it's a runoff and a runoff.
I'm not sure, because...
But I think that's how they find, the winner. I mean, if it was close enough, I don't know if there would be a runoff afterwards, but basically I find, the collective most agreed-upon candidate.
I don't know if I understand it correctly. I made fun of Max for not understanding it correctly, but I don't know if I understand it correctly how ranked choice works. Because
it's kind of like a weighted system where you've basically got.
Okay.
I mean, simplistically, I would think they would do 3 choices. You've got your top 3 out of however many. Number 1 gets 3 points, number 2 gets 2 points,
right?
Or your number 3 gets 1 point, and they basically tally up everything. So
right,
because find the people that agreed on one person, they're like, okay, well, I kind of like them, and I'll put them as my number 2.
Right, because that's how. Right, because when I had Josh Eagle, the state,
to more people.
Right, the state LP guy on, we were talking about it, or I don't remember who was talking about it. Anyway, I need to stop saying that phrase. I do that too much. But I was talking to somebody about that. Is that it would be. That's how. I mean, Joe Jorgensen. I think Joe Jorgensen would win this. I don't know.
Yeah, you've talked about it. Yeah.
In the sense that if it was 1, 2, 3 in that sense, I think a third party would win. I don't think in the past handful of elections.
I think there's enough partisanship that they would definitely at least get them up to a percentage to maybe
start
getting federal funding.
Right. It would be Trump, anybody,
or at least show people
Biden.
That there's enough backing of another party.
Right. It would be Trump, anybody, Biden, or Biden, anybody, Trump.
Right. Yeah.
And then as you average that shit out, it's going to be real tight. But that whoever that anybody is, if there's a single anybody in there, that's probably going to be your winner.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Predictions, not who you picked, who you think's going to win. Starting at the bottom.
Starting at the bottom?
Yeah, you got an easy one at the bottom. McKinsey is starting at the smallest level. McKinsey's going to win your District 2 or whatever it is.
I don't know. Is it Sam McKinsey?
Yeah, that was on your ballot, right?
I don't think so.
Huh? I don't remember what it is. I have to find which one's yours. Yeah, Lafferty's. Dave Wright? No.
No.
Manus Couch? No.
Yeah, that wasn't on there.
School board you didn't have because that's District 6.
Yeah, I think it just had
Michelle Carringer.
Duncan Massey, Jane George.
No, you had McKinsey and Jones. Pretty sure your district, House District 15.
Maybe.
Because you're not Zachary Davis.
Well, it was interesting. There was only Republican Party, Democrat Party, and everything else was just independent. I don't know if that was just how people filed their paperwork.
That's how you have to file.
Is it?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think you had mentioned
right,
that.
because we talked about that. I talked about that with both the LP chair and the election commission guy. The rules to get a third party on the ballot.
See, they put Kanye at the bottom of the list.
He's on there?
Yeah, he was on her. Yeah,
It's alphabetical from. I mean, I would assume it's alphabetical by last name of independence.
I think it's in the same order on there. So I was wondering,
Sample ballot.
how they
President of the United States. I don't see him on here.
maybe they do the two major parties
Electors
first,
for
and then
Donald J.
The rest maybe alphabetically. I was about to say, Trump wouldn't be up there, but assuming they go ahead and put the two major parties at the top.
Trump, Biden, Blankenship, Rocky De La Fuente.
Yeah, I don't think
Howie
I've ever heard that name.
Hawkins, Joe Jorgensen, Allison Kennedy, Gloria La Riviera, Kanye. Yeah, Kanye's the last on the list.
I guess that is alphabetical.
It's alphabetical by last name. But so yeah,
I saw that Rocky name on there. I was like,
all right. Okay, so all right, mayor duty. All right, so amendments 1 and 2.
I was for keeping the vote for the law director.
So you voted no. You had
the way that's worded, it was really weird.
You had fucking clarification on this. You voted no. We talked about this.
Did we really?
Yes, we talked about this last week on the show. All right, for you listeners, if you haven't voted yet, on Amendment 1, you're voting on whether you want to change it. So the current situation is we vote for our law director. Do you want to change that? Yes or no? A vote.
I don't remember what I voted about. I'm hoping that I read it correctly.
A vote yes is you want to change that to a non-elected position. A vote no is you want to keep it the same as an elected position.
I gotta make that shit more easily. I mean, if you read it, I mean, I know they've got to put all the specifics on there, but it's like 3 paragraphs.
County Charter Amendment number 1. Shall the Knox County Charter be amended to take away from the people the ability to vote for the Knox County Law Director by changing this elective office to an office appointed by the mayor, subject to commission approval and subject to removal by majority vote plus 1. And then it goes on to some of the details of how they remove it. But it is worded funky, but realistically, it says, should it be changed, or shall the Knox County Charter be amended to take away? Yes, it should be amended to take away, or no, it shouldn't be amended to take away. That's the way to answer that question. So hopefully you said no, and I think no is going to win. Amendment 2 is the mayor's duties, his ability to write checks without approval. And I'm gonna say no to that.
Yeah,
and I think that's gonna pass as a no. So,
but it said it was anything under $5,000. I think it was a little caveat.
50.
50,000?
Yeah, it says have the sole power and authority to enter into contracts on behalf of Knox County, except as otherwise provided in the charter. Contracts and purchases on behalf of the county shall be entered into by the mayor or the mayor's designee on all contracts in an amount greater than $50,000 or such greater as established in advance by the commission. Blah blah blah.
Yeah, so I'm hoping I said no. I do not want him to be able to enter into contracts.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I might be misreading that one too.
I don't care of the dollar amount.
So the other hosts aren't here, so they don't get a choice.
You want to put on there like $50.
So our position is no. Our prediction is no on 2. My prediction is no on
Amendment 1.
Right. Okay, so you said no on it. I'm trying to we're doing predictions. So my prediction is no. What's your prediction on 2? No, they're not going to let the mayor spend more money.
I'm hoping so.
All right. So, not hoping so, we're predicting.
Yes.
All right. So
I'm hopefully
I'm predicting that no on Amendment 1. Your prediction for Amendment 1
is a no.
Okay. So
hopefully that's what I voted.
Board of Education District 6, I have no idea. I wish I would have reached out and got these guys on here because that was a cool little mini sub race because of the previous
vacancy filling.
Right. The previous one vacated. No. She vacated the county or the school board seat to take the county commission seat. I don't remember her name off the top of my head, but I don't have a prediction on that one because I haven't heard anything about it.
Courtney Durrett?
No, according to the rest of District 2.
I thought we interviewed somebody that went from the school board to county commission, and that's why one of those seats was being opened.
No, I don't think we did. So House District 89, which is Lafferty Mills, I think Lafferty's going to win that seat. Or keep the seat, rather. District 19 is Dave Wright by himself. I'm going to stick with Dave Wright's going to win that one by himself.
The write-in's going to win. Somebody's going to put Kanye in there or Batman.
Manus Couch, that is the big one. I'm going to save that one for later. District 16, Carringer Rowland. I don't know where District 16 is.
No idea.
I have no prediction for that one. 15, Mackenzie Jones. I'm going to go with Mackenzie. 14, Zachary versus Justin Davis. Jason Zachary's had it. I don't know. I'm not sure on that one. I think I'm going to go with Zachary is going to win that one too.
I'm going to say Davis just to be different.
Okay.
I didn't get to vote on it, so.
District 13, Elaine Davis and Gloria Johnson. Now, I thought...
Yeah, I didn't get to vote on that one.
Hold on a second. I'm confused. What was Carrie Keeling running for? I thought she was running against Zachary for 89. Which one was 89? Lafferty. Okay. That's right. She ran as a write-in for Carrie. Carrie Keeling was the write-in for 89. I think...
Yeah, she was one telling the story. She had to write out all the different versions of her name.
I'm going to say that she comes in second because there is an independent that's on it at Greg Mills. But I'm going to guess Carrie gets more write-ins than Greg Mills. That's going to be my bold prediction for what happens.
Wait, so she qualified to run, but not qualified to actually...
She didn't qualify. She didn't do... basically, she's with a group that tries to make sure there is somebody opposing everybody on every ticket. It's a left-leaning group. They had a couple of people lined up, and some things didn't work out correctly, so they didn't have anybody officially running against them. And since they didn't have anybody officially running against them and already crossed all the deadlines, she couldn't get on the ticket as anything except a write-in. And so she went through the process of being an official write-in. If I could vote for you, Carrie, I would, but you're not my district, so I can't. Lane Davis, Gloria Johnson. I think Gloria Johnson's going to keep the seat. I think it's going to be I think that's going to be the second closest race locally. I think the closest race.
Gloria Johnson has a decent following.
Yeah, and she's done, and she's represented well as far as I understand. She's accomplished very little because she's
right. I was kind of glad to hear, and like Matt kind of pushed back on, I guess, like Randy being like, "What has she done?" It's like she hasn't been.
Well, they were being idiots because they were arguing. They were arguing different parts of the same thing.
I'll have to go back and listen to that. Yeah, I figured they were probably.
I tried to get them
do their little talking points and little statistics that they found.
I'm trying to get them to come in next week and do a post-election, like a post-election wrap-up together.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but Matt was saying that he's going to take at least 2 weeks and not touch politics for 2 weeks. And it's like, I can't hate you on that, buddy.
Yeah, I don't blame you. It's probably been a long year for him.
So I think the Elaine Davis Gloria Johnson is going to be the second tightest one, but I think Gloria Johnson is going to win that district. You got to pick
Gloria.
All right, but I think it's going to be the second tightest race. You know what's cool about not drinking for a month? I'm a beer and a half in, and I got a serious buzz. All right.
Wait.
Becky Massey, Jane George. I think Becky Massey's going to take that by a lot. It's not who you voted for. It's who you think is going to win. No, this is my prediction.
No.
Bold predictions. Not really. I'm just what jumps out most to me about that. The reason I feel like that's pretty well in the bag is the Eddie Manis Virginia Couch spending. Like, if it was a tight race, I would have flyers. I've had 0 flyers from this campaign. I've had no interaction with this campaign other than our interaction as a media source.
Yeah. I think one side's already pretty much given up and decided it's not worth the money.
I think Jane's fun. I think she's great. I think she's a little bit too aggressively feministish. I don't know what the word is. I'm gonna work like it's sort of feminine, like demifem is the word I'm gonna make up. Like she's a democratic feminist kind of combo. I don't disagree with her on some of the issues. I think some of the abortion shit's fucked up, and I don't like that that's the thing that happens. But in all the different parts and pieces that are in place, I think Becky's not as untouchable. Like, what's the word? Like that family name thing is not that big a deal in this situation.
Nepotism.
Yeah. So I think Becky's going to win that pretty solid. If you want to, do you have a pick? Do you have a thought? Maybe you did. I mean, did you get you've talked about you haven't gotten shit at your house.
That's fine. I mean, my roommate usually checks the mail, but he may have been throwing some of the shit away.
I mean,
he normally puts most of it at least on the counter. Which I haven't seen any like big flyers.
I mean, I have legit like anyway. But anyway, I need your pick. Who you think's gonna win? Not who you picked, because you already said you voted for Jay George.
And then Duncan Massey.
Yeah,
I think a lot of people probably will go for Duncan Massey.
I'm not mad at her. I very much enjoyed her. I'm kind of leaning that way. I'm not sure. I'm not saying I'm going to, but I'm leaning that way after the conversation I had with her. But both were very, very fun, and Becky gave me the blue book, which is yellow. It's really neat. It's like it's every department, what they're supposed to do, who's run the department for the past X number of years and stuff. It's really cool. Like
that's all Knox County.
No, it's state.
Oh.
It's like the encyclopedia for the state of Tennessee government. Damn. State level government, and none of the county stuff's in there, just state level. Right. That brings me up another thing that I forgot to talk about that I want to talk about. That Knox County renewed its contract with the Nashville lobby firm. The county has a lobby group to go into Nashville for them.
The lobby for Knox County.
Right. That bothers me. We need to save that for later. We're already long enough, and we're not done with predictions. All right, so Burchett.
No, we're not already against lobbyists.
I'm not a big fan of lobbyists anyway, but like lobbyists for private industries trying to get their foot in against government, that's fine. But the government that's supposed to, if the state of Tennessee is supposed to work for me as a Tennessean, if the county commission and the government of the county of Tennessee, of Knox County, is supposed to work for me as a citizen, by logic, they're both working for me. So in Knox County and state of Tennessee, who are working for me as a citizen, if Knox County needs something from the state to help me as a resident of both jurisdictions, they shouldn't need a third party to come in to help get them together to talk about stuff. The premise that Mayor Jacobs can't call Burchett's office and actually get a meeting with Burchett, or Eddie Manis, Virginia Couch, whoever wins that seat, or Becky Massey, who's already in the seat, assuming she keeps the seat or whatever. The fact that Kyle Ward can't talk to Becky Massey about stuff that he needs for his constituency, that's her constituency as well, needs to have a lobby group come in the middle, that bothers me. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. Yeah. It seems like these are all parties
on that.
Right. It wasn't much. It's like a $60,000 annual contract. I mean, it's like one individual's salary, but still.
Well, let's say, can they not just pay like one guy in their office to like
just go sit?
Hey, we're going to pay you to like drive to Nashville a couple times a week.
You get a place in Nashville and you just sit in whomever's office for the day until you get a chance to talk to him for us. Yeah. Anyway, all right. So Burchett, Hoyas, Campbell. Predictions.
I don't know anything about Campbell. I think Burchett's probably gonna retain it.
I agree. I don't know who I'm voting for on that one either. I might vote for Campbell just for shits and giggles, because that's another of my list that I don't know shit about. All right. State Senate seat, Haggerty, Bradshaw, that's the real conversation. And then we get to Yomi Fapas, Jeffrey Allen Granu, Ronnie Hanley, Dean Hill, Stephen J. Hooper, Aaron James.
I thought I remember there was one that had a bunch.
Elizabeth McLeod, Casey Morgan, Eric Williams, Stansberry.
That's everybody running for the Senate seat.
Mm-hmm. Now, I think Haggerty's going to keep it, and I'll tell you why. If I
remember, not keeping
or getting it. Sorry, excuse me. He's taking Lamar Alexander's seat, right?
Right.
I think he's going to win it because I think, if I remember correctly, I know Dean Hill, I'm pretty sure was a Democrat. He ran in the Democratic primary and lost. and decided to continue running as an independent. I'm pretty sure that's the case on that one. And I think it was the Stansbury. I think Stansbury was also one of those. I think there were two on the independents list that were running the Democratic primary that lost their primary but continued to run as independents. And I think, I don't know, fuck, I don't know what I may abstain from that one, honestly.
Really?
I don't like Trump Haggerty. I don't like the Trump Haggerty thing. But Bradshaw goes against a lot of my core values. I think the minimum wage increase is a mistake. I think the 3 E's thing she was talking about in the text group thing, or the text messaging to me thing, it's like I have no ill will. I'm a little pissed that they said they were going to get me at least a representative to talk to on the show, and they never came through. But, whatever. I'm not important. That's fine. But
state, federal level.
But it's above what I really want to do. But if I get the opportunity, I'm going to take it. If somehow I accidentally got a hold of Trump, I would put him on the fucking show. Yeah. I'm sorry, people, whether you like him or not. I'm going to take that interview. But I think for me personally, I just don't. I'm not on board with some of the core issues. I don't know how to say this in general. It's like specifically built programs for specific demographics are a problem to me. If you're trying to push for equality, I don't see how being discriminatory is going to get equality. Doesn't make sense to me. Maybe I'm stupid. Maybe it's my white privilege showing. I'm sorry. It just doesn't make sense to me how you're going to have programs that you're going to encourage you're going to have programs to not encourage, but to incentivize black businesses in lieu of. And it's like, I have a small business. I have a situation where I need help. This isn't me personally, obviously, but there are plenty of people out there who have want and desire and maybe effort and whatever that don't fall into a demographic racially or sexually or sexual preferencely or whatever the subgrouping we want to put it in. But if we're going to put a program in place to help one group over the other, that's a problem to me, no matter which group you're preferring. Because you're not going to make up for previous mistakes by overcompensating today. It doesn't fix it. That's just going to shift it around a little bit, and then it's going to come back some way or the other. It's my opinion on it. I could be wrong. I resent the idea of a black, there's a Black Small Business Day where it's like, hey, go spend your money at black small businesses. I resent the idea of that. Are we encouraging small businesses? Are we encouraging people to go spend money at small businesses? That's a good thing. I don't care who's the small business. Why are we picking one subgroup demographic to promote over another? It doesn't make sense to me. But there's a lot more to it than that on the Bradshaw campaign for me.
Right.
I agree that there's environmental things that we need to look into. I don't agree with the way that her campaign wants to get there. So I don't know I don't know who I'm going to vote for there. But point is, I think Haggerty's going to win the seat, which sucks.
Tennessee probably will go Haggerty. I want Senator Haggerty.
All right, and the big caboodle.
God, that's gonna fucking suck. Because Lamar Alexander was a good, moderate. He
I agree.
Literally a doctor.
Yeah, it's not. It's not a great outlook, but I just don't.
He voted against impeachment, but it said that he knows that, or he knew that Trump fucked up. But still said he was going to vote.
Yeah,
because he was one of the people that a lot of the nation focused on. They thought that he could be one of the swing voters.
Right. I know. Like I said, I just think. That's a bummer. It's a bummer that it's a platform. I don't know that he's that bad, Haggerty, but I don't like that he's officially hitching his car on the Trump train. I think that's a problem. I think it's a problem, period, with whoever it is.
Right.
Bradshaw's been.
It's cool you want to align yourself with the president, but
right. Bradshaw's been toting around that she got the endorsement from Biden.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it's like, okay, and a lot of your policy and programs and stuff that you want to do agrees, and it's like, that's a problem to me too. Those are both. I don't like the idea that you're intending to line up with the whole thing, where the House and the Senate are trying to line up with a whole broader view. The point is to have
for that
interaction.
race, yeah, I agree, yeah.
And so the big caboodle, the number one, everybody already knows my bet. I already have my prediction. I've had my prediction since we started this show, and I'm sticking to it. And I am going to get my money back for my hunting license this year. It's happening. AC is going to owe me like $80, whatever exactly it is. And then there's going to be a big shit show fight about how to get it paid off, because that's how we do things. We suck at paying bets. But I think Trump's winning. I really do. I don't think it's going to be the landslide that we need. I think we need a landslide. We really do. We need him to win the popular vote. Let me clarify what I just said. Whoever wins needs to win both the popular vote and the college. But I think Trump's going to win, and for national sanity, we need him to win the popular vote too. Which I honestly don't think that's going to happen. I think realistically, he's going to win the same way he won last time. It's going to be tight. He's going to lose the popular. He's going to lose the popular by a handful, 500,000, 1.5 million, somewhere in there. At least on paper, and that's what's going to be the shit show of it. That's the front end of it, and that's what scares me about this thing, is that it's going to be a month of fighting over recounts and all sorts of bullshit.
Yeah, there was one case that went to the Supreme Court, I think Thursday, for North Carolina or Pennsylvania, as far as I think they wanted to extend, I guess the reception or receiving of absentee ballots.
Right. I don't know. Anyway, I'm sticking to my prediction. It's not even that I don't want to change it. It's that I don't think I need to change my prediction. I think he's going to win. I hope for the sake of sanity that he wins the popular as well. I'm not sure that's going to happen though. Prediction. Sam's prediction on paper.
We'll go Biden.
All right. So that takes us back to, in my opinion, the most important race to me, which is not the most important race to you. So you can do your prediction first on the Manus Couch race, because you didn't get to vote on it, so it doesn't really matter to you. Do you have any insight on who you think is going to win that? I'm still not sure who I'm voting for.
I think it's probably going to go Manus. I mean, just with even all the ads that have gone out, it's name recognition right then and there. Or, Joe Schmo like you and I going in like, well, I don't know those other names, unless they're just voting party, which a lot of people do anyway. But even just going off name recognition, some people are like, oh yeah, I'm doing that name. Like, that name doesn't sound too bad. Okay. All
right. I really don't know. I mean, and I don't know if I've bought into the literature or not. I think Eddie's probably going to win it, and I think I'm probably voting for him. I'm still not 100% on my vote, but I think, reasonably speaking, I think the lack of party affiliation, in my opinion, helps him. I think the fact the party doesn't like him that much actually helps his case.
Helping and hurting, yeah.
I mean, I think,
depending on which side of the vote.
I think enough people are going to down ballot Republican, and I think the down ballot Republican is going to do what the down ballot Republican does. So is the Democrat, but I think the middle ground voter there's more appeal to the guy that doesn't fit the mold correctly, right, and who's actually getting flack from his party than if you're in the middle on the vote. I think he sells better to the non-affiliated voter, because he's not clearly affiliated. I mean, because honestly, to me, he sells well. And again, he always gets on me for asking mean questions, starting off hot. But he was fun like that. So, all right, so that's what we got here. So, according to Sam and myself, because the other two jackasses aren't here, we start with we are a split decision, which I think we as a whole are a split decision. I think Max and I are both thinking Trump's going to win. I think you and AC are both thinking Biden's going to win. We agree that Haggerty's going to win. We agree that Massey's going to win. We agree that Gloria Johnson wins, but it's going to be tight. I said Zachary, you said Davis, and we're both making shit up on that one. I said Sam McKenzie's going to win. You didn't pick that one. We skipped the Carringer Rowland race because we don't know shit about it. We both pick Eddie Manis. District 19 is Dave Wright, so he's already won. Lafferty and 89 is going to win. We agree on that. But I think Kerry's going to get a good percentage, if not second place, as a write-in, which is going to be interesting.
I wonder how much she put out. As far
I
as
haven't seen much, actually. Honestly, post our interview, I hadn't seen much. I see her on Facebook every once in a while because I friended her because she came on the show. But the District 6 Board of Education seat, I have no idea.
I think you have to do like extra advertising to be like, hey, you're going to have to write my name in. My name's not going to be on there.
Right.
So remember, you're going to have to write my name in there.
Right. And I think that's going to be tough. But we think Amendment 1 is going to be a no. We think Amendment 2 is going to be a no. That is our official predictions. Take it to the bank. We don't know shit. So
just don't cash the check yet.
Right. If you agree with us, you're probably wrong. And so the last thing I want to do, I'm going to bring this up earlier.
Yeah, because we're just almost in agreement.
Right. So I was shooting the shit with Matt Shears on the interwebs through messengers, whatnots, and I sent him a picture of that crazy ass Manis flyer that came to me, and we were going back and forth, and he sent me what the Knox County Democratic Party thinks I am.
Hey.
Do you remember when he was here and he was talking about?
He said they have like the
database
super
thing?
Dems, yeah.
Right, and so, he said you come up as strong GOP in the data, so yeah, and I said we were talking before that, and we were kind of joking about how much shit I'm getting from the thing. It's like, why are they sending me so much stuff if I'm probably, I mean, you got the data on me. Why would the couch team spend a bunch of money on me, and the PACs that have the same information spend a bunch of money on me to try to move my vote? And he's like, you come up as a strong GOP, and he sends me a screenshot of their little thingy.
It's a screenshot of our profile of you.
Right. And I said, what's it based on? And he says, apparently I picked up 2 Democratic primaries at some point. I don't remember doing that.
You did what? You voted for 2 Democratic primaries
I picked
last time you voted?
I picked up two times I voted that were primaries. I picked up the Democratic primary.
Ah, gotcha.
It was back in like 2010 or something like that. It goes all the way back. I mean, they have my record all the way back to 1998, 97, or whatever. I turned 18 and I could vote. And I said, so, where'd it go? Fuck, I lost it. Anyway, basically it says that he points out like what they think about him. He says their data says that my top issues are government privacy, taxes, campaign finance reform, and small business policies. And he says, what do you think of that? And I was like, I mean, I think, government privacy is an issue. I think the interference or the government intrusiveness is a big fucking problem to me. So yeah, I agree with that one. Taxes are fine if they are spent well, sorta. Campaign finance is really not that big a deal to me. Like, I don't understand why that one gets on me. Why they think I'm big on campaign finance. I think it's a problem. But if it was something that, like, if I had to rank choice, like, top issues to me, it would not be my top 2 or 3.
There's probably some, like, random, like, amendment that was on there that you voted yay or nay on.
Right.
And it was, like, the one thing that triggered it.
Right, in my 20-something years of whatever.
And because even candidates, different candidates have different views upon it just because you voted for one candidate because they were for or against it.
And then small business, like, I was like, I don't know what it means by small business policy. Like, I really don't. Like, that's one of those things to me. Is like, I don't know what that means.
Does that mean I'm not going to get Democratic flyers? Fingers crossed?
Yeah. Yeah, and then he's like, "No, I'm going to North Carolina, and I'm going back to my mom's house basically for 2 weeks and disappearing. I'm turning my phone off, and I'm not talking to anybody anymore."
Good for him.
So, I don't know. That's our predictions here officially. The 2 non-present hosts can suck it. I don't know. I got nothing else. You got anything else to say?
Yeah, nothing major.
We didn't play that video from Haggerty. If you think we did, you're lying.
It never happened.
Full fake news. Yeah.
Alternative facts.
Two beers in a month, it really fucks you up. It's getting late. So, like I said, I got Ron coming in Monday. I'm really excited about that. If everybody's schedules do what they're supposed to do, we get a no Max, but with AC episode next week. It's going to be interesting. Because, Max is way more fun when AC's here, but how's AC when Max isn't here? It's going to be interesting. So, I feel like I'm going to be painted in the corner. I probably should be re-sober for that one. almostinagreement@gmail.com, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Hit me up. Let me know if I'm not on a podcast provider you like, because we're on most of them. Let us know what you think. I mean, we'll see if our predictions are good. But we're gonna keep pushing on. This stuff doesn't end just because the elections are over. We got more stuff. Got more stuff to figure out. Find out who to do. Becky Massey said she'd come on anytime we want to if she gets reelected. She'd check in on monthly or so, and I plan to pull on that if I am right and she is a winner. So, good night, everybody.